Hello and welcome to week 1 of the AFL Finals 2024. Thank you for watching the video. Before we get started, please do subscribe and like the video if you are new. I usually have a secret word that you can put in the comments, and let's just try and confuse the people, so you got to wait until a little bit later to watch that. But anyway, Isaac Heaney, I'm so upset that you can't actually win Mark of the Year outside of the regular season, because I think this is better than Jamie Elliott's. What do you think? The Swans and the GWS game was probably the game of the week. Well, I think it's easily the game of the week. There wasn't many, but Sydney just kept fighting back. GWS weren't able to maintain that lead, and Isaac Heaney kicks a awesome goal from inside the centre square, and that was to tie the game. And then eventually Amadi, who did absolutely nothing the whole game, kicks a goal with only 2 minutes left to put the Swans up, and they win. They absolutely stole this from GWS. The Cats were absolutely awesome on the weekend, and Jeremy Cameron is just an absolute freak to be running away from the goals and kick on your left as you're getting pushed. For this to go through, that's just insane. Even he said he should have probably passed that to the top of the square. The Blues get one of their only very limited inside forward 50s in the first half, and Paddy Cripps puts through their first goal after 57 minutes of playtime. This was almost an hour of no score. Not just not a goal, no score at all. Carlton did try and fight back, but it was just way too little, too late. They're gone. Kai Lohmann's got to do the unselfish thing, and he's got to give that first handball off straight away to Bailey. He doesn't, he hesitates, and then eventually passes the ball over the top, and then Bailey just completely airballs it, probably because at that point he probably wasn't expecting it, and he knew he was getting chased down and just psyched himself out. Just completely missed the ball. Does anyone have any more info about what Kai Lohmann said and Nick Newman? He was clearly annoyed, and all I could see is Kai Lohmann said something. He pointed one finger up, and then Nick Newman took offence to it, pushed him in the back, and eventually Nick Newman's going to be missing a week, at least, possibly 2 next year, as later in the match he just completely elbows Lachie Neale for no reason at all. What happened between these two, do you know? He's also done it right in front of the umpire, who gives a free kick to Lachie Neale, but he shanks the kick. I'll try and get the vision to be slow enough to have a look, but it looks like Nick Foot has actually braced for contact and hit Norton. What do you reckon that? That's got to be at least 2 weeks for Nick Foot, surely. The Port defence were just in absolute shambles. Aliir can't take this mark. It goes down to ground. Dangerfield passes the ball over to Jeremy Cameron, and he bounces the ball off the ground, has enough time to line up and kick through for a goal, just with pretty much no defensive effort from Port at all. Looks like Burton's taken a few lessons from Dan Houston as he gets the ball from Rioli and then goes through and kicks a 55-metre bomb. Port needed that one big time. D'Ambrosio played the best game I've seen him play probably ever, definitely this year, as he's dove to spoil this ball. Even though they are 29 points up, it just shows you the desperation that the Hawks had, and that's just another reason why they won. It's always interesting how the different camera angles can show how a tackle or a goal, whatever, looks different from every angle. From this first angle, it actually looked like Willem Drew slammed Blitzar's down pretty hard. But from another angle, you can actually see that his head barely makes contact or no contact with the ground at all. So he will be fine. But yeah. Game's already done at this point, but Brian Myers gets the clearance and eventually gets the ball back, and his unique kicking style, he's just absolutely darted this one at the umpire's feet. I thought it was a brilliant kick because it didn't give the defender in Burgoyne enough time to get back and try and spoil the ball, just went straight through for a goal. Very nicely done. I thought this was a very nice little leap from Ollie Dempsey. Definitely worth sharing once or twice. I'm not trying to point out any individual defenders, as I thought Port Adelaide defenders were pretty bad overall, but unfortunately Lachie Jones, I know this game's dead at this point, but they just couldn't even grab the ball. Zerk Thatcher dropped so many marks. Aliir, Radicalier, just terrible all over. Jones drops this and it actually almost falcons him, and it leads to a Tyson Stengel goal. think the umpires got tricked into this one. I guess from first initial thought, I also thought that Darcy was just very careless here and bumped Sicily for no reason at all, gave away the free. But upon watching the review, Frost has actually pushed him, and Sicily clearly doesn't know about it. He gets up to try and remonstrate, but yeah, don't do that to your teammates, come on. While Hawthorn did play a very good game on the weekend, I found this was probably one of their weak points, was their second ruck. You can just see that Josh Weddle just gets completely manhandled by Darcy, who grabs the ball and kicks it out of the ruck and goes through for a goal. I'm not sure if they only play Weddle as the second ruck in the forward line, but I guess when you can score so freely like they did, it probably doesn't matter. I thought this move by Kalshadir was very clever. After Gunson isn't able to take the mark, the ball goes down to ground, and I guess the defenders are trying to get the ball over, but Kalshadir has second ideas. He's trying to keep the ball in, and as you can see, he just kicks the ball to himself, keeps it in front of him, and then kicks through for a goal. Very clever individual play. Gotta absolutely love the way the Hawks are playing at the moment. Wizards finally able to kick straight, and after he kicks this goal, Marby or Chol just completely leapfrogs him like he's a kindergarten kid or something. I thought this mark by Nick Newman late in the game was very courageous. He knows that the game's pretty much over at this point and could have got completely taken out, knocked out or injured, but he still went for the mark and took it. Very well done, very courageous. We're at the point in the video where I want you to leave the secret comment. Now, the secret comment, I want you to put who you think will win the 2024 AFL Grand Final. For me, I think it's going to end up being Sydney Geelong, and I think at the moment Geelong will take the cake. Carlton were just absolutely rushing their chances in the first half. As you can see, there's a mark just inside 450. Mackay gets the ball and tries to kick towards goal. Completely shanks it like old Mackay would. And yeah, out of bounds on the full. Not even a score. I thought this goal by Keefe was pretty good mid-air. Pretty good for a big fella. He doesn't get too much game time, but he played a pretty good game on the weekend. So I think he'll get recalled this week too. Pay attention, people who are still learning the game, but well done to Rosie. He's able to keep strong in his hips and not go down in the tackle, able to keep his feet, and ends up kicking a goal because he's able to break the tackle. Kai Lohmann has kicked a goal, and in his celebrations he's so excited that he's tackled your best player. Be careful with Lockie, please. And then Kai Lohmann again, after he takes a mark, he's going to take a set shot at goal. He's probably going to have to kick it about 45 metres out on about 45-degree angle, and just comes off the boot really badly and ends up not making the distance and definitely not the accuracy. It's a shank. It's a bit too late in the game to really matter, but I thought Norton was pretty lucky to get this bounce. As you can see, the ball looks like it's going to go through for a point, but the shape of the ball never lies and ends up going through and bouncing for a goal. At this point in the game, if you were watching, you would have realised that Carlton was sort of making a bit of a comeback. They had the momentum, but Logan Morris is here to shut it down. Takes a mark inside the goal square, and he's going to take a 10-metre shot at goal, 15-metre kick, but he overkicks it. He tries to kick it too hard, I think, and ends up hitting the post. What are you doing? This quick little step by Chol was good enough to fake the defender to completely fall down on the ground. Nice little move. How's that for selling some candy? As the ball goes inside the Hawks forward 50, Watson has actually lined himself up to take the high contact from Taylor Duray. It's definitely there, but do you think it's free because he's put himself in that situation? The umpire didn't blow the whistle, but I don't know. I think it's still a little bit dangerous by Duray, so I think it should be a free kick. Do you reckon there was enough in this to be classed a tackle by Amadi on Ward? The umpire said that this wasn't a tackle, it was a bump. I guess it's kind of in between for me, but I still like this sort of effort to be paid holding the ball. I thought this one was a little bit interesting, and it's probably not something that I've really paid attention to before, but there's been a free kick paid to Papley, and Toby Green just refuses to give the ball back and delays the time. And you can hear the umpire say that there's no delay of time free, which makes sense because there's no time to waste because the quarter's just finished. And then, of course, when there's no frees to give away, that's when you start the punch-ons, if you can even call it punch-ons. I guess just pushing each other around for no real effect. Roy Bonham has completely cleaned up Ash here, and he's definitely got him high, and somehow the umpire, he's right there, and he just hasn't paid a free kick somehow. Lockie Ash did slip a little bit, but I still think that's high. That gets paid every day of the week. Not sure why this wasn't. Are the Sydney Swans protected? I got the times a little bit mixed up. Anyway, this is the melee where everyone sort of they just jump a punch and push each other. There's nothing really in it, and as far as I'm aware, it doesn't really achieve anything besides just shows you how strong you are to push each other around. Anyway, never really understood the pushing each other around when there's no punches thrown. Not that I'm saying they should. I feel like Toby Green almost had too many chances at this point in time. He could have passed it left or right or taken a shot at goal. He's sort of in between all the three decisions and ends up kicking towards at goal and missing, which is very uncommon for him because, I'm sure you're well aware, he's usually a very good finisher in front of goal. This one got paid for unrealistic attempt, but I mean, what in the heck was Jamari Ugelhagen thinking here? He's completely missed this mark by probably at least 5 metres, possibly 10. Who does he think he is? Stretch Armstrong? Like, you're not that big, mate. Even standing on Sicily's head, you're nowhere near it. You can see in the replay, he is just miles and miles away from this mark. Like, bruh, what are you doing? Anyway, this is the last clip. Thank you so much for watching. I just found this hilarious that Radically is the last in the pack of about 4 people trying to mark this. He clearly hasn't got first hands to this and then gets that second grab and has his hands up like he's marked it. And eventually the umpire says play on. So it's a ball up and you can just see him look at the umpire, shake his head like, are you serious? Mate, you are not even near it. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I can't believe that we got a 12-minute video out of only 4 games. It's crazy. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. There's only 2 games on this weekend, so let's keep an eye out for that. And yeah, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, you know what comment to leave. Please do subscribe if you're new. If you made it all the way to the end, surely I deserve a subscription. If not, anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to Oddities round 21. This weekend was probably some of the best footy we've seen for a very long time. There were multiple games where they went down to the wire, and there were one with a goal or very close. I think there were 3 games that came down to less than a goal or so. But yeah, it was a thrilling week of footy. Gotta love it. So in the first clip, we can see Jai Amos kick a goal to equal the scores. With only 40 seconds left, this means that whoever gets the ball out of the clearance just has to bomb it long and hope for a mark. Now that doesn't quite happen because Merritt gets the clearance and he hands it over to Durham. And how's the level head of the youngster? In any other situation, you're always told to try and hit up a lead-up target, and usually in other circumstances you probably would try to hit Kyle Langford or someone on the chest to go back and kick the winning goal. But he knows the scores are tied, so all they need is a point. With only 40 seconds left, he does the selfish thing, but in this case the right thing, and goes just bomb it long, doesn't matter, just get it in there. And he bombs it through for a point, which ends up with the Essendon goal. The split-second decision to try and kick for a goal or a point rather than try to hit up the lead definitely led to him winning the game, which is awesome to see in such a young player. He just knows the situation that he's in and he's done the right thing. This was another one of those games where the Pies came back and they were up by 3 points and Pitnet gets the clearance inside their forward 50. Now McGovern takes the mark and he knows that it's going to be a shot after the siren. He did get hit in the head. I don't know if he was trying to play for a 50, but yeah, he got hit in the head. He goes back to take his set shot and, oh, oops, wrong footage. Yeah, sorry about that, Blues fans. Scotty Pendlebury won his 400th game. I think it said in the broadcast as well that he has played to over 7 million spectators. Not to take anything away from this individual effort from Young, which was truly amazing. He just runs through, he has no pressure on him at all and kicks the goal. But there were several times here where Parrish was kept ball watching, and he just has to do better than that. So I don't know if Parrish is a little underdone, whether he needs a bit more training before he can come back into the ones side, whether he has to drop back to the VFL. But for me, his performance was substandard. Which sort of brings me into the next thing I want to talk about. I would like to showcase some other AFL channels, which I feel like the platform that I've got now is insane. I never would have thought that I would have 10,000 subscribers, 12,000, whatever it is on now. That is just wild to me. So the channel I want to highlight is called First Use. While the video quality and I guess the overall aesthetics probably aren't up to the top tier of AFL, I think the analysis inside the videos is very good. And I hope he picked up on this and he will be able to do a little bit of a video on this. But either way, make sure to check him out, and if you do like his videos, please go over there and subscribe to him. Let's get him up to 1,000 subscribers. That's only 310 away. Let's do it. Oh no, looks like I did capture it. Scott Pendlebury has become the first person to play in front of 21 million fans. That is crazy. And also, he's a bit of a troll.
I've got a basketball background, if people didn't know, and a lot of those...
Ford kicks it forward, and Zane Dersma has taken possibly Mark of the Year. What do you think? Will this beat Jamie Elliott's Mark of the Year? Leave your comment below.
That is graceful. And as a player, cash in. Oh, no.
Jeremy Cameron has completely shanked this kick. It still goes through for a goal because there are no Crows defenders on the line. So they just let it bounce through. Pretty big mistake.
Really well executed. It's a great grab. Watch this. That's not... Come on, Crows.
The Swans got absolutely pumped over the weekend, but that is no excuse for this. You can see Dan Houston, there's absolutely no one on him. I'm not sure who it is, if it's Warner who's supposed to be on him. He just loses track of where his player is. He runs around and takes the bomb from 50. Everyone knows Dan Houston does this multiple times, yet somehow the Swans defenders, being down by 90 doesn't help, but have some self-respect for the game and just play defense for once. I found this one quite funny. As the ball goes inside the Bombers forward 50, Clark knows he can't get his hands to it, so he sort of just falls down to the ground. He's very lucky he didn't actually kick this, because this would have been a legal mark. But because it's hit his knee, it's not considered a kick, therefore no mark. Sometimes the bounce of the ball can be an absolute enemy for you. As you can see, Dersma gets the ball and he handballs it over the top, and Zerha is probably going to be running into either a shot at goal or a snap across the body for goal, but the ball almost bounces at right angles and then just denies him of that opportunity. Sometimes the Joe show is just hilarious to watch as he completely stuffs this kick up. I guess you can get away with it when you're that far up, but it's always funny when Joe does it. I don't think Dixon would have been too happy about this replay. As you can see, the ball bounces up very sharply and just completely falcons him right in the face. And now it's Taylor Walker's turn to have a fresh airy. I don't know if this was going to go through for a goal or not, but he just completely misses it. Another great comeback game here. West Coast Eagles beat the Gold Coast. Is this the coast to coast competition? I don't know. You can see that Duggan's just faked out Weller. He just has absolutely no idea where Duggan is, and Duggan gets the ball and he's open. So he takes a shot at goal, goes through. West Coast Eagles win. Splitzarves tries to clear the ball. He just bombs it kind of long but extremely high. And Worrell's sitting under there. He's primed to take the mark. And I think he just loses it in the lights and it just completely falcons him. As Daniels kicks towards goal, it bounces and Frost gets a very lucky bounces back into his chest and takes the ball over for a point. But as you can see, the ball sort of just bounces, so I think he was trying to rush it over but didn't want to get paid for deliberate, so he keeps the ball in and then eventually kicks it out. It goes out of bounds for a throw in, but the umpires call it back, go to score review, and sure enough it went all the way over. Again, the video quality was a little bit hard to see. The umpire's call was a behind, so that's what it was in the end. Another close game this week was the GWS and Hawks game, and the game was on the knife edge with only a minute left, and yet again another chase down tackle from GWS saves the game as Buckley tackles Sicily to win the game. GWS were able to chip it around and kill the time, and then they won. I don't know if anyone else sort of thought the same here, but as Max Gawn goes to kick for goal, I guess it's the camera angle here, makes it look like he's completely shanked this through for a point. And I think it was close, but the umpire signals it went through for a goal. Again, I guess it's just the camera angle, but this definitely looked like a shank. It's coming up to half time and scores are almost level. Darcy Parish gets the ball and he looks like he's about to take a shot at goal, but Brayshaw bumps him. It's kind of a tackle, kind of a bump, but the umpire has paid holding the ball. Now the only way you can get a holding the ball call is if it's a legal tackle. Now the umpire must have thought that this was a tackle, not a bump. I think it's in between, so for me, this is play on. Latham Vandermeer has gone for the ball, and I guess he didn't see May or thought he was going to bump him, but he just completely ragdolls himself, and May's able to get the kick away. It was just funny how easily he went down the ground. I hope the First Use Football channel does do a little video on this, because you can see that Anderson is caught in between two minds, whether to stick with his man or go to Reed. He's stuck in a tough position. He doesn't really do either. He sort of acts in limbo, and that allows Yo to get the separation, and he just runs on. Harley Reid gets him the handball and ends up with a West Coast goal. It's a risky move because if the Gold Coast Suns get the ball, then Yo is well out of position. But while you have the ball, you just have to trust that your teammate is going to get it to you and keep running forward, create that space, which Yo has done perfectly, and another reason why they won that game. Toby Green has just faked out Frost and he kicks it inside the forward 50 with only 3 minutes left. Now the ball jumbles around a little bit and eventually Tom Green is the recipient of a very lucky ball and he ends up kicking the goal and GWS win. Sometimes you just get lucky. LDU has the ball probably 30 metres straight out in front and he goes to kick the goal and he completely shanks it, but he is that lucky that it goes through for a goal. You can just see by his reaction that he knows he shanked it and he's just gone, how in the world did that go through? This goal by Manor was quite nice, thanks for the assist Dempsey, but he's just faked Keane out with a handball to absolutely no one, which gives him enough space to run around and snap a goal. It's a very hard kick to do from there, but well done to him. I don't know about you, but the umpires were really hot on this holding the ball, which sort of brought about this chicken wing tackle where you leave one arm unpinned, so they have to make connection with the ball. But for some reason, this wasn't called holding the ball. He's given LDU so much time to dispose of the ball. He drops the ball down without making any contact in the tackle. That has to be holding the ball, but for some reason, the umpire has just not called it. I'm not sure what Taranto can do more here. This should have been his free kick. I think the commentators picked this one up perfectly. Tim English is challenging the mark. He does get the fist in and it is a little bit late, but I still think it's part of the contest, and for some reason the umpire thinks this is worth a 50-metre penalty, which is pretty harsh. Cam Rayner had 4 broken tackles in the first half, and this was one of them. As you can see, this is the importance of being able to keep your feet in a tackle. As the tackle doesn't stick, he's able to get past and kick a very nice goal. In the fourth quarter, with only 6 minutes to go, Freo are absolutely under the pump. They get it in their defensive 50, and Redmond does lay half of a tackle, and the ball goes out of bounds, and it's a free kick against Chapman. This is a big call from the umpire. I actually think this is correct. I feel like it wasn't enough of a tackle for Chapman to go over the line, and I feel like he's purposely put himself over the line, so I think it's the right call. I think Chapman just has to accept the tackle from Redmond and get the ball out of bounds, which is a terrible position to be in because that can lead to injuries. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and if you made it all the way to the end, leave the comment, can you do that? Let me know below. Thanks for watching. Hello and welcome to round 18 Oddities. Oh man, I've just seen the footage of Charlie Cameron who got suspended. This is not related to this video, but he got 3 weeks for it. That's insane. Anyway, I'll touch on that video in another video. This one here, I think, is probably the funniest clip of the week. Alex Witherden gets the ball and he knows he cannot take it out of bounds because he knows he's going to be paid for insufficient intent. So as you can see, he sort of just stands there and he's waiting for the tackler to tackle him over the line, but he doesn't. So they're sort of in this Mexican standoff, if you can say that, where he's just standing there waiting to be tackled or waiting to handball the ball. I don't know if you could handball it to the chest of your teammate and just so forcefully that it bounces off his chest, or because he obviously can't handball over the top of his head and make it look like a bad handball, because that would be insufficient intent as well. So I guess he just stands there and waits for the attacker to tackle him, but he doesn't do it. So yeah, it's just this weird standoff. I thought it was hilarious. Ross the boss was so angry at his team for giving away a free kick and a goal that he slammed the phone down and he's broken the phone. A little bit later in the game, you can actually see that he goes to pick up the phone to call someone and then puts it back down, realizing that he's broken it, and I guess it doesn't work anymore. Does he get a bill for that? Actually, no, I think I'll take it back. I think this is the funniest clip of the week. After Maynard gives away a holding the ball free, Grindmeyers passes the ball over the top to Blitzarves, and he realizes that there's no advantage, so he just passes the ball back, but he doesn't handball it, he throws it. So that's a free kick against. This probably has to be the oddest series of events I've seen so far this year. How's the grip strength of Cameron? He just grabs Dacos and just completely yeets him. Dacos did get the ball away, so I guess this is a 50-50. Good to see that the old crow throw is back in action as Mark Keane just handballs it back to himself over the top of a defender without making any contact to his fist. Hipwood takes a mark inside the forward 50. It's probably about 45, but the umpire allows him to creep a couple metres, and I guess that means that Hipwood's got to go for distance, and you can see the drop of the ball is absolutely terrible. And this is a complete shank. This probably has to be one of the worst shanks I've seen in a very, very long time. Doesn't even come close. And he's probably missed by about 30 odd metres. Wow. I thought the commentators were a bit strange on this one. They were saying that the only reason he gave away a free kick here was the Toby tax. But he's clearly pushed Broad straight in the chin, fairly forcefully. It is an open hand, but there's no need to do that. Let the defender try and push on you like that. It's an easy 50-metre penalty. The umpire didn't pay it, so you hit him and then you give away a free kick. This is just stupid. Nothing to do with Toby tax. As Taylor Walker kicks the ball inside the forward 50, the ball bounces, and you can see Rochelli's going to line up the ball to try and kick it soccer style, the Euros, as the commentators always say. Just shut up about that. Anyway, he gets it extremely wrong and actually kicks Dougal Howard, and this is extremely dangerous. I feel like for some reason there was no free kick. I wouldn't mind seeing some sort of fine for this, because that is just really dangerous. He's lucky he got him in the midriff. If that was high and that kicked him in the head, that could honestly kill him. Extremely stupid decision to try and kick there. Should have been a free kick at the very least. The Wizard has had so many issues trying to kick a goal this year. I think they said before this game he's kicked 6 goals 18 or something disgusting like that. Anyway, he finally gets one online, and it's probably the best kick he's had in the whole season. And for some reason, Lloyd Meek has gone up to try and take the mark on the goal line. You don't need to mark this. You just need to let it go through. You just need to stop the defender from running at it. Just pretend to put your hands up for a mark, but don't actually go for a mark on the goal line. What are you doing? Anyway, the goal umpire believes that it has been touched, and the review system isn't able to tell if it's a goal or not, so it goes through for a point, even though this is probably the goal of the year for him. Stopped by your dirty ruckman. I don't want to turn this channel into an umpire bashing channel, but this was probably the most inconsistent week of umpiring I've seen in a very, very long time. As you can see, the Fremantle player has enough time to dispose of the ball, in my opinion, and the umpire says play on. And then Will Day gets the ball, doesn't even take 2 steps and is tackled, the ball knocked loose in the tackle, and that's somehow holding the ball. It's just so inconsistent, and it's extremely frustrating to watch. I know this poor umpire I have bashed before, but this goal umpire I thought was very good in this instant, and I don't want it always to be a bash the umpire sort of thing, but this goal umpire I thought was very good in this situation. He wasn't sure if Sicily got a boot to it, he wasn't sure if it was Sicily or the defender's boot, and then also it was almost touched on the goal line, so he also wanted that to be checked. This is probably one of the only examples that you could give of when you think a goal review should be needed. Fremantle kicked the ball out of bounds on the fall, and James Sicily wants to take the kick, but the umpire reckons that Meek is the closest player, and you can just see his disgust in his face, like, come on, why does it even matter? Anyway, he gets the ball back and then proceeds to absolutely shank the kick. If you're going to complain that much about getting a kick, at least use it, man. If you watched the Crows game, you knew how wet it was and just the low quality football that it was, as all wet weather footy is. But you just look at Mateus Philippou get the ball here, and he just runs past, kicks it running away from the goal from 50 on the left, and it goes through for a goal. That's an extremely hard kick, but very well done to him. Sometimes you just have to question the ideas of defenders. As you can see, Zerk Thatcher and Bergman have this one wrapped up, or at least they're going to spoil it. And for some reason, Elia decides to come in for the ridiculous mark running against the grain, and during the marking contest he takes out both of his teammates, which then gives Rosas an easy goal. The two defenders were probably good enough to get rid of this ball or mark it possibly. Zerk Thatcher had pretty good hands to it, but Elia comes in, takes out his two teammates. Like, what are you doing, man? This goal from Mead was pretty nice, and poor old Ballard lost it in the lights, or I don't know, he was scared of the post possibly. Either way, very nice goal by Mead. For some reason, Dan Houston has tried to kick it well over 50 metres, and he's just kicked it straight to the opposition. The Suns kick it back inside the forward 50, and poor old Zerk Thatcher is caught out, and Ben King just cleans him up. You just hate this situation when you know the forward is coming and he's right behind you. After a couple handballs, McAndrew has the ball and Charlie Dixon chases him down and tackles him. This should have been holding the ball, but you can see at the bottom of your screen, the umpire actually puts his hands up to say play on. This is clearly holding the ball, you got to reward that. But the umpire out of zone has actually paid it a holding the ball free, which it definitely was. What was the umpire doing who was right there? How did he not call that holding the ball? I'm just very confused by the non-decision there from the umpire. The ball goes through a few different hands here in this sequence and ends up with Jamie Elliott. As he's running towards goal, he's trying to get a kick off, but he's tackled down to the ground and the ball comes loose and goes through for a point. And you won't be able to hear it on the audio here, but BT says, I reckon he's done that deliberately. I reckon he was having a shot at goal, which is almost impossible when you're getting tackled like that. But anyway, you can clearly see that it's actually come off Stewart's leg, his foot, not Jamie Elliott's. But yeah, BT, you keep doing you, bro. I mean, even if he did kick it, it was definitely accidental. After Farrell takes a mark on the defensive 50, you can see Long comes through pretty late and he does hit him. Farrell's made sure the umpire's seen it and he does throw his head around a little bit as if he's been hit. But after watching the replay, you can see that Long has actually just touched his shoulder and barely forcefully at all. Not even a free kick, let alone a 50-metre penalty. The umpire got sucked into this one and so did I. Port Adelaide made a pretty mighty run home. They really challenged Gold Coast in the last quarter and everything would have to go completely right for them to have any sort of chance for stealing the game. And as Finlayson marks the ball inside the forward 50, he quickly goes back on his mark and takes a set shot at goal and misses extremely badly. Port's day is done. If the Kangaroos played like this more often, they'd probably win quite a few games. As you can see, LDU burst through the pack and quite a few really good handballs by the Roos. Gives Larkey a shot at goal and he makes sure of it. Probably the best passage of play I've seen from the Roos, and I would love to see them play like this more often. They had a bit of dare about them, had a little bit of speed as well. If they played like this more often, they'd actually be quite the exciting young team to watch. As Freo kick the ball inside their forward 50, you can see the Hawks defenders get to the ball first. Sicily collects the ball, and you can see that he's just waiting for Amon to run past him so he can get the handball off, but he takes too long, and Brayshaw tackles him, knocking the ball out in the process, but for some reason this one wasn't paid a free kick. I think Sicily had plenty of time to get rid of the ball and didn't, therefore this should have been holding the ball for me. Just a quick one for this one. Do you think Cameron should have been paid holding the ball against for this one? I think so. As the Tigers kick the ball inside their forward 50, Kaczynski gets the ball and he breaks away from his defender and he sort of stumbles a little bit and takes a shot at goal, knowing his defender's right behind him, and he's hit the wrong side of the ball and this goes out of bounds on the full by 30 metres. But have a look at Adamuze, he's just laughing. Liberatore has the ball, and as Paddy Cripps tackles him, he just throws the ball out, and the umpire is right there and still doesn't pay the free kick. Again, another reason why I think this week the umpiring was terrible. In the pouring wet, Murray has decided to bump Philippou, and luckily he got it right. If he missed, he'd be missing weeks as well. But you just got to love the physicality of our game. Great to see that the bump is not dead. Nothing too special about this clip, I just included it just to show you that no, that's not static on the screen, that is rain. That's how much it was raining at the Crows and Saints game. I haven't seen wet weather footy like that in probably quite a while now. I thought this was pretty hilarious. As Lohmann takes a mark, Cole holds him up and he does get to the contest a little late. It's just the little jump that Lohmann does to free himself or just to show that he's being held to the umpire, and the umpire pays a 50-metre penalty for this. You see players get held like this every single game and not paid, but what makes this one funny is the jump from Lohmann. The umpire bought it and I guess that makes it a 50-metre penalty. What do you think? Is that the right call? My recording stuffed up on this one a little bit, but Ollie Wines gets the ball inside the defensive 50 and he goes to mark the ball and he's clearly looking up to where he's going to pass the ball next and he drops it. The umpire blows his whistle, Ollie Wines sort of plays on and then looks back because he fumbles the ball. Overall, just a really odd sequence of events. In such a crucial point in the game, the Pies have the ball inside their forward 50 and Will Hoskin-Elliott has a chance to take a set shot at goal or pass over the top to Bobby Hill. He decides to do neither and completely slip over and kick it to the defender. Now that's a coach killer. You don't see this too often. Jack Henry and De Koning get their boots mixed up. I guess because of the shoelaces. One of the shoelaces has got tangled in the boots, in the studs of the boots. How good's that? Again, you got to love the physicality of our game as Chol goes bang. This is probably a pretty good example of why you always need to play to the umpire's whistle. Jackson reckons he's got this mark completed and then Cal Shadir just steals the ball, I guess, out of his hands almost. Mark's not completed and kicks an easy goal. Well done to him for the quick thinking. Sometimes you just forget how strong these AFL footy players are, as Tex Walker just pushes Wilkie over like he's absolutely nothing. Wilkie's a big man. To push him over like this, you got to be pretty strong. Farrell's usually a very good kick, and for some reason he's just shanked this one. It wasn't even going to get to Rosie even if Long wasn't there. Long takes the mark and he's only 20-25 metres out on a pretty straight angle and goes back and shanks it. You got to make them pay when you get an easy intercept like that. You just have to make the other team pay. Welcome back, Jamie Elliott. After this effort where he spoils the ball down to the ground, he gets the ball and he's running away from goal towards the boundary and takes a shot at goal. It's almost like the further away from goal or the worse angle that he's on, the better kick he is for goal. This one's pretty hard to kick, so well done to him. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Cheers. Welcome to round 6 oddities, better late than never. In this first clip, I understand what Dwayne Russell's trying to say, but sometimes you overanalyze things and sometimes things are just what they are. This is just an interesting anecdote.
Kick a little too wide. Sometimes you can look at a burnt piece of toast and see the image of Jesus, but it's just burnt
This ball's
toast.
travelled a whole 10 10 metres and somehow the umpire still calls it a mark. Plus he fumbles it over the line, goes through and kicks a goal. The boundary umpires are at it yet again.
I think you're a non-dominant. Pretty good.
Oh, we like the look of that. Off the left boot.
Of Jed Walter, that boundary umpire. He could not be more perfectly positioned.
Bailey Williams from the West Coast Eagles has thrown his hat in the ring for Mark of the Year. Pretty athletic grab. Unfortunately, he follows up by missing the goal, but the mark was extremely solid.
Look at this. Yeah, Jackson was in the box seat and Williams, look at that for a leap in the hands.
Bobby Hill almost kicked goal of the year from the boundary, but Jace Burgoyne says no.
Bounced up like a rubber ball. He danced inside, he danced outside. He couldn't from there. That is a freak show if that's through. He went left, even he shut up.
Opposition and where they're at. There's the...
Who in their right mind does that? That's nearly home. We're so close to being home. Didn't even have to stand.
After Port Adelaide kick it in, Lockie Jones takes the mark and he's going to handball it to Kane Farrell, and he just completely misses him by 2 metres. In the end, Jamie Elliott's not able to clean up and kick a goal, but that could have cost your team very much. Coach killer. The game was already over at this point, but as you can see, Brayshaw's got out the back. He goes to take the chest mark, but he spends it before he earns it and spills the mark. This was pretty much just Freo's night.
Switched off now.
Connor McDonald takes a mark inside the forward 50, and Newen from North Melbourne holds him up. You can see what he's trying to do here. He's stopping the handball over the top for the goal. I felt like he held on way too long. I thought it should have been a 50-metre penalty for me, but well done to the young defender, because in the end Connor McDonald takes a shot at goal and he misses. Brandon Parfitt comes in for a late hit on Zorko. I don't think this one's probably 50. It's borderline, not totally against it that it is 50. And in the end, as Zorko starts to run, Hawkins runs in front of him and just stops right in front of Zorko. He tries to play it off Hawkins and says that he didn't mean to do it, or he ran into the back of him. But you just got to clear the area. Ends up with a 100-metre penalty. This goal on the right boot by Sharp is incredibly hard. You have to kick it well over 50 metres on the right foot on the wrong boundary, and he nails it. What a goal.
Ridiculous! Sharp slicing it through the goal from range.
If Harry Mackay was probably 1 second later, the umpire would have called play on and he tackled Buckley, but because the umpire hadn't quite called play on yet, it was a 50-metre penalty. Sometimes you see these let go. I've seen umpires say reset because it's sort of a play on, but it's also the umpire hasn't told him. At least this umpire has made the decision and actually paid the free kick, the 50-metre penalty. Ollie Henry had quite a few funny fumbles. It was very wet, so the ball is extremely slippery, but as Stengel kicks it inside the forward 50, all he has to do is take the mark or pick it up off the ground, but he can't do either, and he sort of just backheels it, throw in. Well done to Jones. As you know, Brad Hill is a smooth operator, but he put enough pressure on him to force the kick out wide. Probably a defensive play that doesn't get noted enough is just the defensive pressure. Put enough pressure on the kick so he didn't get a smother that Brad Hill stuffed the kick up. So well done to Jones. Lloyd Meek receives the ball just outside the centre circle and he bombs it forward. I'm assuming to try and hit a target inside the forward 50. Gets over the back of everyone and just goes through for an 85-metre goal. Do you think Elijah Hollands has kicked this on purpose? I reckon it's a shank and he's just extremely lucky that it's gone through, and he shakes his hand like he meant to do it. I don't know about that. The boundary umpires are just becoming an absolute joke at this point in time. As you can see, he fumbles the mark well over the line, doesn't take full possession of it. It was probably borderline 50-50 on the first grab, but he clearly fumbles it, and the boundary umpire is right there and still doesn't call it. Does anyone else think that this year for some reason they're not calling it out of bounds? It seems to be happening a lot this year. In the wet, I thought this was enough to be paid a mark to Calamachi, but the umpire clearly says play on. I don't know if Leicester heard it or he decided to play on anyway. He kicks for goal and misses right out in front, given the benefit of the doubt with the wet ball. Paul Curtis is probably a little bit unlucky. As you can see, he takes the mark, and before the umpire's called play on, the Hawthorn defender comes in and smothers the ball. It's probably not too dissimilar to the Harry McKay one, where one was 50 metres and this was play on. In my opinion, I thought the umpire handled this one pretty poorly.
Gets to Paul Curtis. Good idea. Oh, he played on. Into trouble.
I know there's a huge amount of hype for this young man, but Harley Reid really stood up in the Western Derby. And just take a look at this mark. He read it best, better than anyone in that pack, and he comes in with a really solid mark. After Holman takes a solid mark, he goes back for a set shot at goal and he hits the post, and it zooms into Albanese and you can just hear the crowd start to boo him. You can just see they're probably saying, how did he miss that? Albo looks a little lost, to be honest. I guess that was the theme last week with the Draper, and now Young, you can drag the ball in and not get called for holding the ball. It's a little tongue-in-cheek with the Draper one. I thought that was fine.
Very lucky. Extremely lucky.
Doesn't apply this week, Jay.
He's lying down.
Thought the umpire got caught sleeping here. How is this run-down tackle by Butler not holding the ball? He had so many chances to get rid of it. He doesn't. He gets tackled and the ball gets loose. That's holding the ball every day of the week. Dane Zorko's got the ball just inside their defensive 50, and you can see that he goes to play on to run around his defender and then goes to kick the ball, decides he changes his mind and then just fumbles the ball in the wet. Luckily, it didn't end up costing his team a goal, but the Lions lost anyway. I thought this was another funny example of Ollie Henry just having no idea where he is, as he's chasing Harris Andrews to try and get the ball to go in for a goal, or I guess force the umpire to make a terrible decision. He actually just runs flat out into the post. I thought that was pretty funny.
Can he get a boot to it? No, Andrews takes it through.
Again, a massive thank you to all the supporters of the channel. The elite members are Beeps, Big Mac John, Kanga, Roo, Sean Ducks and Flex. If you would like to make this list, please consider joining as a member, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Man, what a last round of the regular season. This really did come down to the very last game to find out who was going to be playing finals. For me, the Carlton and Saints game was the most exciting one because Carlton made their comeback. And as you can see, Kemp has a chance to win the game, but he misses. It quickly goes down the other end, and then Filippo has the chance to ice the game, but he also misses with only a minute 20 left. And I thought this is where the game was going to end. The Blues aren't able to get the ball out of their defensive 50, and there's a bit of a scramble, and somehow Higgins has got the ball and he's kicked this, and as soon as it goes in the air, I'm thinking, nah, that's just gone straight up in the air. It's going nowhere, and there's no way it's going through for a goal. And after watching the replay, it's only just snuck through. The Saints caused the upset and the possibility that the Carlton Blues will not make finals. But as we know, Port beat Freo, so Carlton are in anyway. After Willie Rioli kicks a goal in the first quarter at almost the 7-minute mark, it takes the scoreboard to update a whole minute for it to actually put the goal on the board. Not sure if the guy went off to go get some hot chips or what, but it took him a while.
Takes a really nice mark. Port Adelaide wanting to finish top two. Inside 50 is Aaliyah.
Mitch Georgiades took a mark inside the forward 50, and as you can see, it's right on the boundary line and just inside the 50, so he's looking to pass it off, and he, I guess, sort of goes to pass it off, and the umpire said that's play on. Georgiades clearly didn't hear him, and so he starts walking back, and he kind of does walk over the line, but Luke Ryan makes sure that he definitely goes over the line, and this one was just completely odd. Eric Hipwood tries to kick the ball inside the forward 50, but he shanked it and it's gone out of bounds on the full. And then Ben Mackay returns the favour by kicking it to a contest inside the forward 50, which is very strange, and it ends up with a Brisbane goal. I think that one is a literal definition of a coach killer.
That is an interesting decision, almost like he didn't see Cam Rayner, and Ben Mackay with a big turnover.
How's this for an oddity? The game was actually stopped due to lightning, with only 10 minutes to play left between Melbourne and the Pies. The players had to go down to the rooms and wait 20 minutes. When the game was already done, I'm sure they both probably just wanted to get this over and done with. Are Melbourne bad luck? Wasn't it Melbourne and Brisbane Lions that this happened to last year? Or was it the year before? Filippo gets the ball inside the forward 50, probably about 30 metres out on a 45-degree angle, and this has to be the worst ball drop and consequently the worst shank of the year. I think this just wins the prize. This was a terrible, terrible kick. Looks like the pressure got to Zerk Thatcher. After he takes a mark, he's looking for what to do next and somehow has just tripped over an absolute ghost. In the first quarter of the Hawks and North Melbourne game, you can see that the cameraman is panning around trying to look for the ball. He has absolutely no idea where the ball is. It's actually in the Hawks defensive 50, and it takes a while for the umpire, the cameraman I mean, to see where the ball is. And even Buckley says, "Oh, there he is, we got him." The ball bounces over the back and Cozzy Pickett has got the speed to outrun Quainer, and somehow he also has just tripped over his own feet. He probably was able to get away from him, but he was going that fast that he's actually tripped himself up. It's quite funny. I have absolutely no idea what's going through Taylor Walker's head here, as Melican, I think it is, takes a mark. Taylor Walker overruns the mark and just bumps him, puts him on his bum, and that's clearly a 50-metre penalty. What are you doing? The Bombers were in absolute scrambles against the Brisbane Lions. Roberts passes to Caldwell, who's going to kick inside the forward 50, and he's kicking it to a teammate, and somehow he's just missed him. He's kicked it over his head by probably close to 10 metres. It's just very strange to see from someone as skilled as Caldwell. Jeremy Cameron had 7 disposals, which were all kicks, for 7 goals in the first half. That is a pretty crazy stat. As we know, they actually kicked 2 more goals after this, the Cats, and were up by 100 points at half time. That is an absolute flogging. Surely no one tipped West Coast Eagles for that. Please, tell me you didn't. This is how you know when the Pies are running hot. They actually get a free kick for holding the ball. Bobby Hill plays on, and then still side bottom tries to pull the ball up and say, no, we'll take the free kick, but the advantage has already been paid. So yeah, he has to take a shot at goal. He does, and it goes through. Sometimes you just get lucky, and when you're on, you're on. Bobby Hill's usually a very nice kick at goal, and more so on the run, I guess. And he takes this set shot at goal and just completely sprays it to the right. You can see the way he's kicked it just kind of looks a little bit lazy. In the end, it didn't matter because the Pies flogged him. After the ball goes inside the Brisbane's forward 50, you can see Jake Kelly ends up with the ball, and I don't know if Morris is actually calling for it here or not, or if he, for some reason, the Bombers, they just had trouble finding out who their teammates were. Also, Joe Danaher probably a little unlucky not to get a free kick for that. Probably should have been paid a mark. Richmond's luck is down, and as Broad receives the ball back, he just completely slips over, which opens the opportunity for a tackle. He does stay down for quite some time. I think he was injured from this, or possibly just embarrassed. The West Coast Eagles are absolute witches' hats in the game against Geelong. In this sequence, you can see 3 Cats players inside the corridor, and they're just handballing around to each other with minimal to no defensive effort from the West Coast Eagles, and this also leads to another goal. This is the exact reason why they were up by 100 points at half time. Welcome back, Morris Rioli. Everyone loves a clean chase down tackle, and he follows it through with the goal. You'd love to be able to see this guy play a little bit more and hopefully not get too injured next year.
He does have that ability to hunt the opposition. Just now needs to compose himself and finish his good work. He sneaks it home from him.
Taylor Dray almost takes mark of the year on the ground by this little juggling act, and then Toby Green comes in to try and steal the ball away from him, and as he's standing up, Dray actually has a lock on his legs, and I just thought it was funny that Toby Green exaggerated the trip just to let the umpire know that he was. Sometimes you've got to exaggerate it to make the umpire make the call. I'd like to know what your call with this one is. I would have paid insufficient intent. You see kicks way less worse than this, in my opinion, be paid for it. McDonald's purposely picked the ball up. As he's done it, he's pretended to fall over. It's so clear he hasn't done enough to try and keep the ball in play, and the umpire calls a throw in. I think this has to be insufficient intent for me. What do you think? Tui kicks the ball up the wing, and somehow the umpires paid this a mark to Henry. When he's behind the ball, I'm sure he didn't get first hands to it, and then he comes down with the second grab, and the umpires actually paid this a mark somehow. Not entirely sure how he disposed of the ball. I think this one should be paid for holding the ball. What do you think? After Eric Hipwood tries to take a specky on Jake Kelly, he's so frustrated, Jake Kelly, that as Hipwood's on the ground, he actually nudges him with his foot. It's almost a kick. It's probably not hard enough to be classified as a kick. But what do you think about this action? Should this be a fine or possibly even a suspension? I think a fine is fine. Fine is fine. The umpire is telling Lloyd Meek to separate because you've got to keep a metre before the umpire throws the ball up, then you can engage as the rucks. Meek knows this. The umpire gives him multiple chances to stop and he doesn't, so then it's a free kick against him. You don't see that paid very often, if at all. As the Blues have the ball inside their forward 50, sort of scrambles around, and somehow Mark Pitnet has ended on the handball and he's kicked it towards goal. I don't know if he tried to have more distance on this to try and kick for goal, or whether he was just trying to clear the ball forward into the goal square. Either way, it's bounced through, it's tricked everyone and gone through for a goal. Ed Richards played a phenomenal game on the weekend, and I just wanted to address something that I said last week. I'm not entirely sure why, but everyone thinks that I do not like the Dogs. I really don't care about the Dogs. Definitely do not hate them. But yeah, anyway, last week it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek because the Dogs won by a huge margin, and I was trying to say that the umpires helped them get that. The umpires don't help you win by 90 points. I guess I probably should have been a little bit more clear on that, and yeah, I definitely don't hate the Dogs. Not entirely sure how Jake Kelly hasn't been called for holding the ball here. As you can see, he half tries to defend the defender in the tackle. He's got one arm free, one arm holding the ball, and doesn't make any attempt at trying to get rid of the ball. Gets taken down to the ground, and the umpire just calls play on. The D's were just so off on the weekend, and he could have hit Pickett up in this lead-up target, and they decide not to. They bomb the ball long to Van Rooyen. Pickett gets the crumb, and he's kicking this 99 out of 100 times. Somehow he's hit it clean on the post. That's just when you know it's not your night. Bobby Hill is just trying to be too much of a team player sometimes. I mean, at this point in the game, you can forgive him for it because they've already got the win secured. They pass it over to Lockie Schultz, and somehow he just completely misses everything. I've been pretty critical of him in the past, and yeah, I just don't understand why a team wants him. He's a very inconsistent player, and I guess just watch him in the next game come through and kick 6 goals. And here's yet another example of the D's just not having their night. You can see there's 3 of them in front here that can go through and kick a goal. It's just a charity goal. Somehow, Billings manages to hit the post. Either Zach Merritt has the fastest hands in the West, or this is the throw. I've been critical on Jack Ginnivan in the past, but you got to appreciate his effort that he puts in, day out. Look at this quarter, it's 1 minute left and they're already up by 110 points, 112 actually, and Ginnivan is still trying to win the ball here in the last minute just to get that one more goal, and that's what you love, just a team player who just never quits no matter what's thrown at them. It was so windy and wet at Ballarat, but it was great to see the massive turnout for the last game of the year for the Doggies. in the regular season, that is. And you can just see how windy it is by the goal sticks having a complete dance party. And that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to try and do some Brownlow prediction videos, and also I want to try and do a bit more of how each team has performed throughout the year if I do get the time, but if not, I will definitely get the Brownlow video out next week. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in next week's video. Hi and welcome to Oddities at round 17. This first clip might be the funniest thing I've seen in footy in a very long time. After Harris Andrews sends the ball back into the 20th row, he runs back and sees Isaac Rankin. He's just going to give him a little arm check, but as you can see, Rankin sees it coming, he ducks underneath it. Harris Andrews goes for a barrel roll, and it's probably the funniest thing I've seen in footy for a very, very long time. Well done to Harris Andrews for also laughing this off. In this clip, we can see McInerney kicks towards goal and it dribbles through for a goal, and Dougal Howard tries his best to take the ball over the line. He ends up in the Swans support in the front row, but upon goal review, he's actually saved this. Dougal Howard has got to it just in time for it to be rushed through for a behind, and that might be the point save of a year, well, goal save of the year. As we know, this was extremely crucial because the Saints won. If you didn't get back to this, the Swans would have won. So that's my defensive play of the week. The GWS runner is completely oblivious to this. Blake Acres has taken a mark on the wing, and you can hear several umpires tell him, runner, get out, runner, get out. He refuses to move. Whether he didn't hear him or was just so focused on his job, he doesn't know what happened. And then he actually runs through the mark. This is a clear 50-metre penalty. And as you can see, he sort of hangs his head in shame as he runs to the bench. He knows he's going to cop an absolute spray. Not now, but I'm sure he did after the game. There's a fair bit in this one. First of all, I'll just play the full thing. After the ball's marked by GWS, they go to send it back inside the forward 50, but the umpire stops play because there's an injured player. Toby Green says to the umpire, who gives a F if a player is injured, and the umpire says, I give an F. But before this, if we actually watch, the umpire has clear vision of this. He's standing right there, he's actually kneeling, and he watches this altercation and does not pay a free kick. I'm not sure why he didn't pay that one, but then also holds up play for an injured player. Very odd. After the ball fumbles around a little bit, Darcy takes control of the ball, and I think there's probably just enough time to get a handball or a kick-off. The ball comes out in the tackle. For me, that should be holding the ball. He hasn't disposed of the ball correctly when he's had a chance to. Alir believes this is also holding the ball, and he holds the ball. He gets tackled, and the umpire calls holding the ball for that. The umpire has to understand the situation there. He clearly thought that that was holding the ball. I guess technically, yes, that is correct because there was no whistle. So I guess you're always taught play to the whistle. This one's a little bit confusing. What do you think? What should have been the right call? For me, I thought Darcy should have been called for holding the ball. This is also a contender for Defensive Player of the Year. It's not as spectacular, but Gold Coast are making a charge back to try and take the lead and win the game. And as Anderson has the ball, he goes to handball over the top. Harry Sheasel reads this perfectly and gets the smother in and effectively just denies the Gold Coast run home. Very well done. It was only something very minor, but it played a very important role in North Melbourne finally winning a game. You gotta love the way the Sharon bounces sometimes. As you can see, this kick here from Wilson, if it continued on its natural path, it probably was going for a point or possibly could have kept bouncing and gone out of bounds for a throw-in. But it's taken a left-hand turn and gone through for a goal. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and every week I post where you can leave your oddities for the week. And this one, big thank you to TBNR Butler. He has submitted this one here. It felt like the umpires were doing absolutely everything they could to get Sydney the win. You can see that Marcus Windhager is being held without the ball. He just has one hand on top of the ball. Gordon kicks the ball out of his hands as well. No free kick paid. It goes down the other end and the Swans kick a goal. I've got no affiliation with either of those teams, but it just definitely felt like the umpires were trying to get the Swans over the line that time. If you want to be involved with the channel, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment in the weekly post where you can post your oddities, and hopefully I can pick them up and put you in the video. Very big thank you, TBNR Butler. As the West Coast Eagles are trying to clear the ball down inside their forward 50, the ball is punched, it almost goes out of bounds, and Liam Ryan tries to punch the ball further. If you can quickly have a look, which the umpire I don't think did, you can see 3 West Coast Eagles players in front of him. He's clearly trying to punch the ball forward into a teammate. He's mistimed the punch, or hasn't just landed how he wanted, and it's gone out of bounds. Now the umpire's paid insufficient intent. I think that's a terrible call. It may be technically correct. It's not in the spirit of the game. He's clearly trying to pass this on to his teammates, and he gets penalised for something so stupid like that. Do you think the umpire made the right call here? Charlie Cameron was okay after this, but he's gone for an absolute screamer and he's landed flat on his back. If you've ever done something like that before in any sport, you know how painful that is, and it just knocks the absolute wind out of you. As Langford marks the ball just before it crosses the line, you can hear the umpire tell Maynard and Moore come back, or it's 50 metres. And they both do come back, and I think they're sort of a bit confused about who's going to man the mark and who's going to take that, I guess, so he can't run around the body, that pressure on the sideline, whatever you want to call it. And Langford does the right thing. He realises that there's no one actually standing the mark, so he just runs in and kicks a very easy goal. A bit of a brain fart from 2 very experienced defenders. I found this one very strange as well. As you can see, Myercheck has marked the ball, and it was a bit hard to see, especially from the goal umpire's view, if it was marked before or after it crossed the line. And it went to goal review, and for some reason the bunker, the arc, whatever you want to call them, they believe that he controlled the ball before it went over. But you can actually see that the ball hits one hand, comes loose, and then he grabs control of it after he crosses the line. But the ARC still deemed this a mark. I think this was a fumble. I don't think he completely held full control of the ball. It was touching his hands, but he didn't have it locked in. At any moment it could have come out. So for me, that wasn't a marked ball. And just so you know, I tipped Collingwood to win that game. Not much to this one, but Cumming faked out De Koning twice, and I think the funniest part about this is De Koning just realising he's been done twice and he just hangs his head in shame. That was pretty funny to me. You still got to love these hard hits in footy as Will Day tackles Atkins. Nothing really more to say, but just a really nice tackle.
Didn't know that was coming.
Came from the blind side. It was a super tackle.
And a fair tackle.
And well received. If you can be a good receiver. 3 inside 50s.
I'm not entirely sure why this wasn't paid a high tackle. It doesn't look like he lowers his body anymore from when he receives the ball. Harry Sheasel gets it very wrong and tackles him high, but for some reason this is not paid. The commentators got a little bit confused by this one. They believed that it was touched, which in this case would make their argument correct. As Fogarty gets the ball, he goes over the boundary line, but they think it's touched, so then somehow it ends up a Brisbane free kick. But if you actually listen closely, the umpires say that it's not 15 and the ball goes over on the full at barely. I don't know if the boundary umpire paid that. It looks like he did. Right call or not? I think it's borderline, but fair enough. Jeremy Howe kicked this ball. I thought for sure it was going to hit the point post or go through for a point, but it's curved back so much and somehow gone through for a goal. If you watch it as it's come off the boot, he's lined this one up straight with the point post. What kind of wizardry is that? Now, I'm no goal kicking coach, but every time Ugle-Hagan takes a pretty decent mark, this one was a little bit weird looking, but anyway, he takes the mark. And as he lines up for goal, you can actually see this really bad trend that he does. He always ends his hips facing the way that the ball kicks. I know this is probably common for most players, but I feel for some reason Ugle-Hagan's kicking is more pronounced like this. I'll try and zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. But as he's kicked, you can see as his left footer, his left hip actually ends up in the straight direction of where he's kicked through for a point. This should easily be a goal. I mean, I don't know, it might be too simple for me, but if he just kicks and ends up with his hips facing the goals, will he go through and actually start kicking some goals this year? Ben Keys, the umpire, has absolutely convinced the umpires that this is a free kick, and he is correct. As you can see, it's not a marking contest. The ball has hit the ground, so therefore the ball is in play. And then Wilmot punches the ball and it goes out of bounds. And Keys asks for insufficient intent. The umpire, who's right there, says no, that's not a free. But you can hear the out of area umpire actually agree with Keys and say this is insufficient intent, and that's correct. I think if Keys didn't give so much of a show and just let the umpires know, hey, that's insufficient intent, I don't think they would have called this at all. and then he finishes it off with a very nice check side goal. After Van Rooyen takes a nice mark on the centre half wing, he kicks inside the forward 50 and enter the Cozzy Pickett show. He flies high and takes a very nice mark. Contender for mark of the week, yes. Mark of the year, no.
Take a couple of short steps and then propel. Get the connection. There's Melksham popping.
Sorry to do you dirty like this, Cozzy, but as Chandler takes a mark, he kicks the ball inside the forward 50, and I think he just loses sight of the ball, or maybe Brass touches it slightly. Ends up being a Cozzy Pickett Falcon. After Tom Green kicks a massive goal, you look at the goal line and you wonder, why did no one from Carlton try and touch the ball? Why did nobody try to punch this through, kill it at all? But when we watch the replay, you can see that Riccardi has just two hands shoved, I think it's Chincotta, straight in the back. Umpire hasn't seen this and it goes through for a goal. To be fair, I honestly don't know what De Koning was doing either. Do you reckon this should have been called a mark from Melksham? He's gone through, and I'm not entirely sure if he's touched it first, but he was very close and then comes down and grabs the ball. The umpire says no. What do you think? Dylan Moore kicks what looks like to be a goal, but straight away you can see he's saying to the umpire, nah, that's been touched. Very good honesty. I mean, it gets reviewed anyway. They've called it a goal. The ball goes back to the centre, gets reviewed, and has realised that it's been touched. Thanks for your honesty, though. Connor Rosie takes the ball and he tries to evade his defender in Bontempelli. He gets tackled and spins 180, goes down to the ground, and the ball comes out without being a handball. And somehow the umpire hasn't paid this a free kick. You can see the Bont says, hey, come on, that's a free kick. And he actually argues with the umpire a fair bit about why that's not a free kick. I believe the umpire actually says to him something about he never had full control of the ball. I don't know what the umpire was watching, because he definitely did. Somehow this wasn't called. I think that should have been holding the ball, in my opinion. Just after the AFL have come out and said that the umpiring is at an all-time high, and the umpires sending out a memo saying that we're going to be calling holding the ball more often and more frequently, I guess. And then you see plays like this where Rowan has a huge amount of time to dispose of the ball. He doesn't get rid of it legally. I think he's thrown it in the end as well. And somehow this still wasn't called. I think we as fans are just frustrated by the back and forth about saying how the umpiring is so good, they're going to call holding the ball more often, and then you see things like this where it's clearly holding the ball and not paid. It's just frustrating to watch. What is holding the ball? What isn't? This is another interesting one, as Bose has the ball. He's kind of tackled, I guess, and he loses control of the ball and drops it down on the ground. Now, is that holding the ball in your eyes, or is it play on because he's fumbled the ball, but while he's kind of being tackled? It's a little bit 50-50. The umpire doesn't make a call, but what do you think? I'm really glad this one was actually paid. As you can see, Dacos gets the ball and he has multiple chances to dispose of the ball, and eventually he just, I guess he's under pressure, but he pretends that he's got that much pressure, doesn't know what to do with it. There's no one clear to kick it to, so he just runs the ball over the boundary line and he's paid for insufficient intent. I'm glad that's paid, because for me that is the right call. He's had a chance, an opportunity to dispose of the ball, he hasn't done so, and then therefore that should be insufficient intent in my eyes. As Logan Morris takes a kick at goal, you can see he's completely shanked it, but there's a whistle on the call, so you wonder, what was that? Mark Keane, who's from Ireland, so give him, I guess, the benefit of the doubt. Instead of jumping up trying to smother the ball, he's actually jumped and leapt at Logan Morris. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. So that's a clear 50-metre penalty. And was that the reason he shanked the kick? Because someone's jumped directly at him? I don't know. But anyway, he gets bailed out and goes through, obviously kicks the goal. I know I say it, and someone says, what do you think, Kiana, in the comments below. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. It's quite funny. But Van Rooyen takes a mark, but Melksham's gone up for a flyer, and he's actually stopped a West Coast defender in Barras, I think it is, from being able to go up and try and contest the mark. I feel like that gets paid all the time, so I'm not sure why the umpire has seen that and hasn't paid an insufficient intent, unrealistic attempt, I think it is. Because he didn't even get close to the ball and he stopped the defender from getting to the ball. That should be free to West Coast Eagles.
Putting some pressure on the
A bit of a double oddity here. As you can see, Akers gets the handball in quotation out. There's no way this is a legal handball. He's just clearly thrown this. And then as Ward gets the ball, he falls down, he slips down to the ground, and the Carlton defender comes in a little bit too hot and heavy and hits him high. I think that is the right call, but it's just very unfortunate because he's probably done everything right. If Ward didn't fall over, I think it would have been a perfectly fine tackle. He's just extremely unlucky, and I don't actually know what he can do here to not give away the free kick. As the ball goes inside the Pies forward 50, Harrison takes a snapshot at goal across the body and it bounces, and then Kruger actually stops the ball. I guess he's trying to pass it off to a teammate, which is very odd to get down that low for such a big fella. But as you watch the replay, I actually think if he didn't touch this, I don't think Mackay was going to get to it, and I reckon it probably could have gone through for a goal. So he's actually somewhat smothered a teammate's goal here. The commentators didn't comment on that, but I think this probably would have gone through for a goal. As Dre scrambles to get to the ball first before it goes over the line, I think it's clearly gone over the line. Not sure how this wasn't paid out of bounds, but anyway, this is probably also the softest high free kick you will ever see. He's barely touched him on the face. Free kick, I guess so. But the ball was clearly out, not called. But, I mean, at this point in the game, who cares? And that's it for this week. This might be the longest video yet. So if you've stuck around to the very, very end of the video, thank you very much. It helps the channel massively. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment. That will push this video out to more people so we can grow this community. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it all the way to the end, leave the word Goliath in your comment. I'll see you tomorrow for the next video. Cheers. Hello and welcome to round 20 of the 2024 AFL season. These are the oddities that I saw during the week. And man, how did we get to round 20 already? That has gone so fast. I'm really hoping to get some more content out, especially when it comes up to finals time, analysing each team and which way they will win and which way they will lose. If this is something you're interested in, please leave a comment below and let me know that you want to see it and what sort of content you would like to see in those videos. And hopefully I'll be able to cater to everyone's needs and get those videos out. Now this first clip, there's probably a couple things that you could say about this one. I mean, running into an open goal, get the handball off to Jesse Hogan. He's your key forward, just give it to him, he's right there. For some reason, you've been a little bit selfish. Also, Jesse Hogan can see that he's not going to handball it off, so just get the hell out of the way. But yeah, he has to handball this. This is just unbelievable. This was also the lowest attendance game in the round. I think it was of the year actually. Only 16,000 people rocked up. Do better. In this next clip, the goal umpire was in a average position. I mean, she was probably blocked, so she wasn't able to see if this was touched or not. She believes it's called a goal. It goes for score review, and there's insufficient evidence to overturn it. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is not a bad rendering of my video. This is the quality of the AFL cameras. How are we in 2024 and a $1 billion company like the AFL can't afford some sort of 4K 120 FPS camera, something of the sorts? I mean, you just look at this and you can't even see where the hand and the ball are. Everything's just such a blur. Does the ARC have better quality than what we see? Because if they don't, it's pretty much a joke. And I don't know about you, but to me, it actually looks like this ball does deflect. You can, in my opinion, you can see his forearm muscle jiggle from the contact of the ball. Now, it's probably quite not enough to overturn, but either way, a better quality camera would have been able to pick up if this was touched or not. Don't worry about the chip in the ball, just get better cameras. This goal by Jackson Mead was disallowed as the umpire believed it hit the post. It actually hit the flag, which technically is part of the post. But have a look at the flag, it's actually sticking out from behind the post. I think if that flag was tucked away correctly, that it wouldn't have hit the flag and it would have hit the post, so it would have been a goal. From memory, I don't think I've seen a flag stick out that far. I don't know, I don't really pay that much attention to it. But for this goal to be disallowed is pretty unfair. James Peatling from the GWS Giants played terrific in the final quarter. He had this amazing chase down tackle, and then another later tackle which ensured the GWS victory. Sometimes you just got to highlight the defensive plays. For me, this was the best one of the week. This was one of the better team plays of the week, as Luke Parker is pretty clever. He taps the ball over the top of Jones's head, thinking that he's going to take the ball and Jones is going to tackle him, but he just taps it over his head, goes through a few hands, and then eventually ends up with a Swans goal. Very nicely done. This was a bit of a blunder from the North Melbourne defence, as Stevens can't actually get a handball, and then Core comes in to clean it up. He's going to rush it over the line, obviously, but he's waiting for the tackler to initiate the tackle so he can go over the line, and therefore it's only a point. But Dempsey just one-on-one strips him and then ends up kicking a goal. Pretty nice goal, very sneaky. I can't say I've seen this too often before, where the umpire bounces the ball and the ruckman just slips over, so the umpire calls it back to do the ruck again. Do you think he should call it back, or is it just too bad? I reckon this might be the first time that we've seen a 50-metre penalty be paid for holding the opposition player back from running on to get the ball. It happens all the time in AFL, but because he's more than a certain distance away, now it's a 50-metre penalty. I always thought if it was stopping them from being able to participate in the next play, then it's a 50-metre penalty, which happens week in, week out. But for some reason, this one was paid a 50-metre penalty. Go figure. I really like this play from Nankervis. As you can see at the start of the clip, he's probably 10 or so metres behind Bruce. Bruce ends up with the ball. He gets an unlucky bounce. This gives Nankervis time to catch up, and he lays a really nice tackle, even though he knows that he's injured his shoulder. He's landed the tackle to stop the goal. That's what you call putting your body on the line. I'm not entirely sure if this seagull hit one of the guide wires on the MCG, or he just was sick and happened to fall at this exact moment, but the camera caught it. RIP to this seagull. Sorry, mate. Very unusual for Carl Amon to miss a kick, but he kicks it out of bounds on the full. Ben Keys takes the kick and he ends up kicking a goal, and the commentator says he just needs to kick a Sydney goal here, in reference to last year. Ends up going through for a goal, and he says that one didn't touch the post. I thought that was a bit tongue-in-cheek. Well done. Bobby Hill's about 40 metres out on a pretty tight angle, and for some reason he's trying to hit up a target, the big fella, about 15 metres out, and just Baker reads this easily, and it's a turnover. You're a forward. Start acting like it. After Toby Bedford and Alex Neil-Bullen come together, they both push and shove each other, I guess because of a bump off the ball or a tackle, whatever. And Alex Neil-Bullen goes down like it's nothing. I hate this. Just get rid of it. Fine him for flopping. Jace Burgoyne gets the ball out of the ruck, or marking contest rather, and as he runs towards goal, he doesn't look the right way. He looks over his left shoulder and thinks he can run into an open goal. Looks over his right shoulder. Uh-oh, there's Hollands. Tries to take the kick and completely shanks it, obviously, and goes out of bounds. Talk about when showboating goes wrong. And Saligo takes a shot at goal. It falls a little bit short inside the goal square, and it fumbles around a little bit, and then Billy Dowling kicks towards goal, and it looks like it's gone through. It was touched, but it was behind the line. So you can see all the Crows fans, myself included, were thinking, you beauty, what a goal. But upon review, he actually made very poor connection with it. It actually came off his knee, therefore no goal. I guess this is a good example of when the score review system actually does work. Actually, I take that back. I reckon this is my defensive play of the week. As Bergman tackles Cripps, he goes down to ground. Cripps luckily gets the handball off just in time to not be called holding the ball. And then Hollands gets the ball. He breaks through one tackle, but Bergman's quick enough to jump up and tackle him as well, saving an inside 50. Which defensive play do you think is better? You just gotta love to see footy plays like this. As Connor Uzzi gets the ball, he fakes going left, trying to trick Cottrell. He does this fairly often, but McGovern reads him like a book and just absolutely hammers him in the tackle. I'm not entirely sure how the umpire didn't see this slap from Jones. It was well late, especially after he'd marked the ball and already come down to ground, and then he gets hit in the face. He throws his head back as if he's been hit, which I guess, usually the umpire does pay something there. And upon review, you can definitely see that he has been hit, so it wouldn't surprise me if he actually cops a bit of a fine or something for this. I haven't looked that far into it just yet, but I guess we'll find out in a later video. Not that it would change the end of the game as the Crows got absolutely flogged, but there were a couple calls here by the umpires, well, no calls, that I thought were a little bit confusing, especially this tackle on Warple. Definitely didn't get a handball away, and how is this not holding the ball? As Evans from Port Adelaide gets the ball, he knows he's going to be tackled, so he actually lowers himself and rams his shoulder into Hewitt, and somehow Hewitt has been given the free kick against for tackling him high. The umpire fell for this one, hook, line and stinker. I thought this one was a little bit confusing, but after watching the replay it definitely made sense. As the ball was going towards North Melbourne's goal, Tom Stewart falls down to the ground and smacks it over the line, almost. My initial thought was that it was probably going to be an in the back free to him, but as you can see he's actually taken the legs out of Comben, so this definitely is a free kick against. So well done to the umpires for making the right call. I thought this was pretty clever from Newman as he's going to receive the ball from McGovern. He actually puts his hands up like he's going to take the mark, which makes Asava Radaglia jump towards him to try and spoil it. Just throw his hands in the air just for the odd chance that he will hit it. And Newman's completely faked him out. The ball's not there yet, and then he takes the mark, and his momentum, Radaglia's momentum, has caused him to hit into Newman and get paid a 50-metre penalty. Pretty clever and pretty funny. How's this mark from Comben? He's gone up on a very short ride and then ends up take the mark, falling down to the ground, and I think he gets style points for that little 360 move, right?
This is what the Kangaroos have been waiting for. This guy at centre half forward has been impact glove. He has all afternoon.
This is another example of what I thought was poor umpiring again on the Crows night. Yes, I am a Crows fan, but Chol's been given plenty of time to dispose of the ball and then ends up just getting it knocked out in the tackle after he's had prior opportunity, and it's not called holding the ball yet again. Just not entirely sure what the umpires were doing. At the end of the game, this didn't really matter. The way the ball bounced here for Zerha, it does go through for a goal, but this could have ended pretty poorly as the ball bounces and almost does a 180 as it just continually bounces and changes direction. Luckily, it's just curved completely around the post, so it still goes through for a goal. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. I'm hoping to do the suspensions and injuries video for this week, so please be sure to keep an eye out for them. If you made it this far in the video, leave a comment below with the word pencil. Let's see how creative you can get. The most creative one gets a pin. Thanks again for watching. Hello and welcome to all the oddities for round 16 of the 2024 AFL season. In this first clip you can see that Alex Neil-Bullen is definitely trying to get the ball over the boundary line. I think the umpires made the right call here and paid it deliberate. Hugh McCluggage takes the weight of the world on his shoulders and he goes through and kicks an awesome goal. This is the sort of stuff that you dream of as a kid, to be able to kick the winning goal. With only 30 seconds left in the game, for some reason Nick Blakey was left wide open. He gets the ball off the tap and kicks inside the Swans forward 50. Logan McDonald takes the mark and he goes back, and you can see the umpire, the conversation with the umpire saying that he is able to go off the mark but he has to kick the ball over the defender. And I'm sure we're all aware of what happened after this. He couldn't make the distance, which is quite strange as a player who plays in the forward line who can't kick a 50-metre goal unless he just hasn't made the connection right. This too is something that you dream of as a kid, being able to kick the ball after the siren to win the game. That's just something that dreams are made of. Unfortunately, this one was not a dream, it was a nightmare. I thought this smother, I guess, or spoil, I don't know what you'd call it, from Gary Rowan was pretty awesome. He lost sight of the ball, he had no idea where it was, but he knew the defender had his arms out ready to mark the ball, so he's just thrown his arms straight in the air, and he's just spoiled the ball down to the ground, and it ends up with a Geelong goal. Probably didn't get the recognition that it deserved on the night, but very well done to him. This one was a double oddity. You can see that Higgins has clearly thrown this ball. He definitely didn't get a second hand to it. He's just thrown it over the back of his head. Somehow the umpire didn't see this. It's play on. Mitch Owens gets the ball inside the forward 50, almost inside the square, and he handballs it off to King, who completely shanks the kick. I understand he's got the pressure there, and probably not an easy kick for such a big fella, but come on, this is what you're paid money to do. On a side note, this was probably one of the worst games that you could watch all year. It was just terrible footy from both teams. Anyway, moving on to the next clip, you can see that the ball is on the ground and fumbling inside the Richmond Tigers forward 50, bounces down, and Noah Bolter just throws his body to the side and kicks a pretty awesome soccer goal. After the siren goes at half time of the Brisbane and Melbourne game, Petty marks the ball probably 55-60 metres out, and he's got to absolutely launch this one to even get a point, let alone a goal. He goes back, and all the commentators, and probably myself included, thought he didn't have the distance in him. But he's gone back and unleashed the torp, and he got very, very close. The distance was no issue, just the accuracy. But to kick that from 60 metres out from the likes of Harrison Petty, that's pretty impressive. I found this one pretty interesting. You can see that the game is in the balance, 6 minutes left, and the Lions are making their comeback. They're only 8 points down at this point in the game. And Dunkley marks the ball, and Cozzy Pickett bumps him. It's probably not enough for 50, but he's towing the line. He actually steps over the mark by probably 2 metres. The umpire tells him to come back. He doesn't come back. And Dunkley does look like he's about to go to handball, but I don't think he's fully committed to it. Cozzy Pickett knocks it out of his hands and the umpire calls play on. We've seen this before many times in the year where that is actually paid a 50-metre penalty. Do you think the umpire made the right call on this one? Taylor Walker marks the ball inside the Crows forward 50, and as he's going back, he takes a look towards the goals and he notices that there's actually no defender on the goal line. He does leave the kick a little bit short, but because there's no one on the goal line, it goes through for a goal. He really caught the Giants sleeping on this one. As Ben Keys tackles Cornelio, he falls down to the ground and he's still holding on to Cornelio by the jumper. He does do a full 360, but the umpire pays this as a free kick for holding the ball, even though he hasn't gone to the ground, which I know you don't have to be holding the ball, but I don't feel like Keys had enough control of the tackle to be called for holding the ball. Yes, Cornelio could have got rid of the ball earlier, but I'm not entirely sure this is holding the ball in my book. Fair bit going on in this very short clip. As the ball is inside the Lions forward 50, the ball is thrown up and it goes down to the ground. Caleb Windsor tries to clear the ball. He kicks it into the knee of McInerney. This was slightly lower. It did bounce through and it would have been a goal, but because it's the knee, anything above the knee or above is not considered a kick. So it could have been a goal, it wasn't. But then also, Stephen May was very lackadaisical, as the commentators were saying. He didn't try to rush this through. If this actually ended up being a goal, this would have been an absolute coach killer in the first quarter. This was almost a contender for lull of the week, as the Brisbane Lions are paid a free kick, even though I thought it wasn't a block. Hipwood clears the ball inside the Lions forward 50. Joe Danaher goes to take a mark and he actually drops it. In the end, it looks like he's trying to kick it forward to the two players that are running onto the ball, and it goes through for a goal. This ended up as a point. I could just imagine Fagan being absolutely furious. I found this one pretty interesting. Guy Lohmann did eventually go off for a HIA, which he passed, which fair enough. But just the severe impact that this was at the start, why was he not told to go off straight away? He was able to take this kick. He went inside the forward 50 where he got another kick a little bit later, and then the doctors came and got him and told him to come off. You could see this clearly. He hit his head. It was a pretty big collision, but for some reason he was able to play for another couple minutes before being told to come off. Just bizarre in my opinion. As the ball goes inside the Crows forward 50, Taylor Walker and Buckley are fighting for the ball. They both completely misjudge it and actually Falcons Buckley. You can see he's rubbing his eye after, so it definitely hurt. Just a funny one. Charlie Cameron's having a year to forget after Joe Danaher tries to do the right thing and pass the ball over the top to get him involved in the game, and for some reason he too also drops the mark. Last year or even the year before, he would have gobbled this up and easily kicked a goal. This was a pretty solid hit from Darling as the ball goes inside the West Coast Eagles forward 50. If this went a little bit further the other direction, I reckon he would have hit him square in the face and would have knocked him out. This would have been weeks. He was towing the line very, very closely. Do you think this needs a please explain or anything like that? I think both Hipwood and Jack Varney are extremely lucky that this was nothing more. Hipwood is trying to clear the ball, fair enough. Varney dives down to try and get the ball, but this could have ended extremely badly with a broken leg or a broken arm or a kick to the face which would have knocked you out, absolutely. But luckily both players were okay. This was again borderline very close to something a lot more severe. Thank goodness for the replay. As Mitch Georgiades goes to kick for goal, he thinks it's gone through, and in the replay you can see he's actually gone the early crow and he's celebrating that this has gone through. But unfortunately, it actually hasn't. You can see straight away he holds his face and is like, oh no. Big thanks to Fox Footy for replaying that. Love it. Wouldn't you just hate this as a teammate? As Bailey gets the ball inside the forward 50, he runs towards goal thinking he's going to kick it. Connor McKenna absolutely flies past him and doesn't give him the handball. And then Bailey gets tackled and chased down for a hold in the ball call. Surely you give your teammate an absolute spray for such a bad decision there. But also got to give Jack Varney absolute props for this awesome tackle, and it definitely saved a goal. Long has absolutely crunched Billy Frampton, and this ends up going through for a Gold Coast goal. You just got to love the physicality of the sport. Eric Hipwood had an absolute stinker of a night. He gets the ball inside the forward 50, and as you can see, there are 3 Brisbane Lions players that he could have handballed this to, or kicked it to. He actually handballs it over the top of Kyle Lohmann, and it goes through for a behind. This was an easy goal gone missing. Not entirely sure if the umpire forgot that he was the umpire in this situation or if he was just watching, but there was probably at least 1, possibly 2 holding the ball calls that didn't get called, and then James Robon gets the ball and is tackled. I mean, this one is also holding the ball, but if that one's holding the ball, then the Brayshaw one before that was definitely holding the ball as well. So I'm not entirely sure why that one was picked out as holding the ball, when I felt like probably 2, possibly even all 3 of those tackles could have been holding the ball, especially Errol Goulden, who's tried to fend off. How's that not holding the ball? What do you think about that one? Somehow this one also wasn't paid holding the ball. As Bailey tries to fend off, he gets tackled down to the ground and the ball comes loose, but the umpire does not pay holding the ball. A couple things in this clip. Firstly, the importance of sticking the tackle as Hayden Young breaks it and he's able to pass it off to a teammate in O'Meara. He has a really nice step for Heaney and he just drops him. Fakes that he's going on the left and then easily goes on the right and goes and kicks a goal. A pretty poor kick in from Sinclair, but also from Steele, I think it is, who sort of runs for the ball and just stops, which allows the Port forward to get the ball and eventually kick the goal. I don't think you can put the entire blame on the kicker, as he's put it straight out in front, but Steele or whoever it was just didn't run onto the ball, just stopped and waited, just allowed it to get stolen. As a Crows fan myself, this is one thing that absolutely infuriates me about Rochelli's game. You can see that he had the clear option of passing over to Taylor Walker or kicking it to the right to another teammate. Instead, he goes for goal. If you're going to do that, if you're going to burn 2 of your teammates, you need to make sure that this definitely goes through for a goal. But he's actually shanked the kick. He's got to do better than this, and he does it time after time, and it's extremely frustrating. He's a very selfish player. After a nice play through the midfield, Rivers receives the ball back, and as he runs, he goes through and kicks the goal. But the umpire has called that he ran too far. I think it's fair. I think he did run probably at least 20 metres. And another one as Sturt runs probably 20 to 25 metres. He does bounce the ball first, but then runs on, and he's in between minds whether to pass the ball or go for goal. He takes way too long to make that decision, and the umpire calls him for running too far. This seems to be happening more and more now. Why do you think that is? Sidebottom gets the ball and he handballs it in towards Crisp. It's a little bit hot, so Crisp has to go and get the ball, and Alex Sexton just absolutely puts him right on his bum. Felt like this one was pretty stiff on the umpires to pay this for insufficient intent, as Toby Green has actually knocked the ball out of Michael Annie's hands. Watching the first replay, I honestly thought that he did knock the ball out, but watching the replay, he's clearly had some help from Toby. This was a pretty normal goal, I guess, but just the way that my check stepped around Davies was awesome. He did it so casually. As Merritt clears the ball, he kicks it to about the 50-metre mark, and the Geelong defender comes in to spoil the ball. He doesn't do a very good job of it, to the point where it just comes off the side of his fist and hits Zach Tui for a very nice falcon. Brayshaw was a little bit stiff on this one, I thought, as Cunningham runs past Brayshaw. He actually does drop his knees a little bit, which causes the high contact. Brayshaw's got him dead to rights, holding the ball, but unfortunately the umpire has seen it as a high tackle and pays a free kick to Cunningham. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Hello and welcome to Oddities round 23. We've only got one round left before final start, and I guess you all knew I was going to talk about this. I am a bit conflicted about this. I just want everyone to know that yes, I am a Crow supporter, so inherently I'm just always going to be a little bit biased against Port Adelaide. As much as I try to keep this channel unbiased, there's always someone who's going to leave a comment saying I am. But anyway, this bump from Dan Houston on Isaac Rankin is always going to be a little bit contentious, especially with the way the AFL has been treating head hits and concussions. Automatically, if you bump someone and it's a concussion, it's at least a week. I guess due to the severity of this and the actual impact of the hit itself, meant that this went to tribunal, and we know as of tonight, which is Tuesday night, that he has been suspended for 5 matches, which means that even if Port Adelaide were to make the grand final, he will not be part of the team. And that's just the way the AFL is at the moment. They're paying on the outcome, not the incident. For me, I think this bump is actually okay. He does get him in the shoulder, which is not the head. It's not a sanctioned area, so I think the bump itself is fine. I think it's the outcome of the bump. Because he's bumped him, and because as a result of the bump that he's hit his head on the ground, causing the concussion, from what I can see, this is what's led to the suspension. If Dan Houston bumped Rankin and he fell on the ground on his shoulder, not his head, and then got straight back up, this probably wouldn't even be a telling point. We wouldn't even be talking about it right now, I don't think. I think the only reason is the severity of the concussion. As you can see, Rankin's arms are straight out, which is a very typical thing of when someone is knocked out. We definitely don't want this in the game. We are treading a fine line, and I think the bump is officially dead. So yeah, that'll be the last time we see Dan Houston in a Port Adelaide jumper. In the Swans and Bombers game, Errol Goulden kicks the ball inside the forward 50 very nicely to Campbell, who's a left footer. As you can see from the angle that he's on, this is a very, very hard kick for a left footer. And just listen to what the commentators say about the kick, or their lack of saying something. If this was Dacos, they would have been going on about this for a week.
He's going to go with the outside of the boot. He is very good by foot, Braden Campbell.
In the last quarter of the Bombers and Swans game, you can see Caddy gets the ball and he is only 10 metres out. For some reason decides to not take it, tries to fake the kick and handball it over the top, which leads to a stoppage. You can see the reaction of Scott. He knows that this game is done. Fox Footy have let the Apprentice take control of the video graphics in the West Coast Eagles and Carlton game after Jamie Cripps kicks a very nice goal here, which haunts the Collingwood fans. After the replay, I'm sure the guy told the Apprentice, hey, click the button that says Cripps, he's just kicked a goal. Yeah, that's the wrong Cripps, brother. I think most Port and Crows fans would agree that the umpiring was pretty poor. I guess the Crows thought they got hard done by and so on, but this one is clearly a free. He's tunnelled him. I know Thilthorpe has eyes for the ball, but at the last minute he looks away and he looks at Jones. and he just completely tunnels him. I just don't understand how this is not a free. I feel like this is probably another example for me, as Rosie has the ball, he's fumbling it so he doesn't have full control of it and comes loose in the tackle because Laird sort of knocked the ball out of his hands. The umpire pays a free kick against for holding. I think this one's just got to be a ball up. Langford kicks the ball inside the forward 50 and Draper takes a very nice mark, and yeah, as the commentators say, he must have been practicing this because this technique of snapping across the body is truly odd. The umpires must have got the memo that the Western Bulldogs have to get the win. I mean, they were going to do it anyway, but this was a very limited time that he had the ball to be able to get rid of it. I guess the umpire seen him do this little spin move to, I don't know, evade his defender, and the umpires called that his prior opportunity and paid holding the ball. I feel like this is way too quick and you haven't given the player enough time to dispose of the ball, but got to get the Dogs into the final somehow. You gotta love these chase down tackles, and when they're executed perfectly, they are truly amazing to watch. But Vandermeer is actually, as soon as he's tackled, he's dropped his knees down to the ground to bring McKercher down. And as he's done that, he's actually buried his head into the ground. And as McKercher gets up, you can see that he's got a blood nose. And the umpire is right there, yet again, trying to get the Dogs into finals. This has to be in the back. He's rode him down by not a proper legal tackle, in my opinion. He's pushed his knees down to force his body weight down. And by doing that, hitting his head straight into the ground. I'm not sure if this was a star like Lucky Neal or the tackle was on Bontempelli, then it would have been a free kick and possible suspension. This is one that you don't see every day, as Kemp and McGovern both fly for the ball. Kemp's the man in front, and I guess he doesn't have full control according to the umpire. And as McGovern rips the ball out of his hands, the umpire says neither of you have made a legal mark and ends up balling it up. It's not something you see every day. I thought this play by the Dogs was really nice, but especially the defense of North Melbourne was pretty poor here. You can see that both players try to fly at the ball and actually end up taking each other out instead of one contesting with Norton and the other collecting the ground ball if it does go down. It's probably just poor communication. Somehow Durham wasn't called for holding the ball, even though you can clearly see he's made absolutely no attempt and just throws the ball down on the ground. I think this clip is just the epitome of how poor the Tigers defense was. As you can see, there's several players who have the ball outside their forward 50 and they're just handballing it, and there's minimal pressure coming from the Tigers. The ball ends up going inside the forward 50 and it goes inside the goal square and it's fumbled around in between players until Cal Shadir is on the ground. He's able to pick the ball up, stand up and take a shot at goal. Not very fast, I would admit, and it still goes through. Where is the defense from the Tigers? Because that's why they were down by 60 points in a quarter and a half of footy. After Mason Redmond gives away a pretty silly free kick right in front of the umpire as he's about to ball up, Taylor Adams has the chance to put the Swans out in front and proceeds to completely shank the kick. Towards the end of the third quarter, the Bombers have a chance to chip away at that lead that the Swans were able to get. And as Gresham kicks the ball into Jake Stringer, who is probably about 20 metres out, straight out in front, on the siren, he also proceeds to shank the kick. And you can just see the absolute disbelief on the Bombers fans. They feel like their nights and season are over. Tom Green goes studs up against Brayshaw, and apparently it's not a free kick. I guess the green effect only affects one green in the GWS team. Towards the end of the first quarter, Waterman has a chance to keep the Eagles in front, and you can just see the drop of the ball is just terrible. Proceeds to hit the inside of his foot, and the ball goes down to ground, and they're able to get a stoppage, but this was an absolute terrible kick and an absolute shank. But Waterman still has a chance to win the Coleman medal. I was about to say Brownlow, the Coleman medal, but he has to do really well next week. Does anyone know what the umpire had here? It was about the ball up, but then he blows his whistle and he has something, and it looks like he throws it towards someone on the boundary. Something black. I don't know if it was another whistle that wasn't working. Does anyone know what that was? And that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. We only have one round left of the regular season, and hopefully I'll be able to get you something during the final series. And keep an eye out for my finals analysis. Once the teams are all locked in, I'll be able to see what teams' strengths and weaknesses are and how each team will win the game. Keep an eye out for those ones, and thank you so much for a great season, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm finally back. Welcome to round 2 of the finals of the 2024 AFL season. Sorry if my voice is a little bit scuffed. I am still recovering from a thyroid and chest infection. Anyway, this first clip, there's so much going on. Like, Newcomb gets tackled and the ball fumbles out. Probably should have been holding the ball. Then Impey just completely trips up Frankie Evans and somehow calls for holding the ball. Nothing there from the umpire. And then Mead gets the ball and he kicks it forward to absolutely no one. There's no one in the vicinity, and somehow the umpire calls this a throw-in. This should have been insufficient intent. You can see here there is literally no one from Port even close. I have no idea what the umpires were doing this weekend. After McInerney gets the ball, he just bombs it inside the forward 50 hoping for a mark, and Eric Hipwood takes the mark probably 15 metres out. And have a look at the score. The Lions are down by 34 points in the middle of the third quarter, and you think he just has to go back and kick this goal. His team absolutely need this. And then somehow, directly in front, not even hit the post, he just completely misses this kick. I don't know how this happens. After the umpire pays an insufficient intent for Taylor trying to keep the ball in, Joe Danaher, who's a left footer, takes this kick on the left boundary and somehow absolutely slots the goal. And then straight after that, probably only a minute later, he gets the ball inside the forward 50, takes a very strong contested mark and kicks another goal to get the Lions the win. This was probably one of the best comebacks I think I've ever seen in a finals game. Sometimes you've got to give the umpires the benefit of the doubt that they didn't see it or they weren't in the right position, but you can see the boundary umpire is in perfect position. You can see this ball is clearly out. It's not even close to being left in, and somehow this was not called. Just triggered the BT. That was out of bounds! That was out of bounds! I'd like to know your opinions on this one, and remember that I am a Crows fan, so inherently, for some reason, people believe I'm anti-Port, but I believe this shouldn't have been a dangerous tackle. I think Moore's contributed to making it look more dangerous. I feel like he knows the tackle's coming on the side, so he sort of lifted himself and thrown. He's lifted his legs up, in my opinion. I don't think this is a dangerous tackle, and yeah, I don't like this in finals. I think that's way too soft to be considered a dangerous tackle for me. Man, Butters only has one speed. We all know he was extremely injured, and you can just see him come in. This is the first quarter, 5 minutes to go, and he's just come in and gone bang. You can see it clearly hurt him because he stayed down for quite a while, but man, wouldn't you just love to have this guy on your team? How Callahan, Taylor, or Rayner, neither of them came off for a HIA after all three of them got a head knock in the last 6 minutes of the game is a little bit ridiculous to me. I know the concept of the game, I guess where it was in the game is very important, but you can clearly see that there's been 3 head knocks, and Rayner stands up and he's rubbing his head. You can clearly see it. The doctors come out and they're allowed to play on. Like, I don't know. Rules are only rules when the game's not on the line, apparently. And then you get ones like this where Zorko's trying to kick it to McInerney. He's clearly shanked this kick. McInerney's somewhat in the vicinity. The ball bounces out. The umpires paid this one as insufficient intent, even though a player is somewhat nearby. But with the Port one, no one's nearby, but it's a throw-in. Yeah, make it make sense, man. I thought this passage of play was probably a very good example of why Port Adelaide won on the weekend. You can see that the Hawks usually just cut through defences really well, but Port Adelaide were able to hold them up and just make them make several second choices. where instead of giving that first handball, kicking it straight away, they sort of second doubted themselves and weren't able to get any sort of clean footy, and this ended up as a turnover. So well done to Port Adelaide's defence here. They played really well in stopping the Hawks being able to kick 100 plus points, and yeah, in the end Port won. And I think this is just one example of why they did win. Again, not a Port supporter, and I think this is probably the perfect tackle. You see that Charles running away and Lockie Jones wraps him up and tackles him down. The momentum carries them both. It's a high stakes game. You can't be paying a dangerous tackle for something like this. I think Chol lands on his knees first. He has a chance. He tries to kick it, which is obviously changed the momentum of the tackle. And yeah, I mean, his head does hit the ground. I will agree with that. But I think this is probably the perfect legal tackle. Jones has done nothing wrong, and I hate to see this paid as a dangerous tackle. This should have been holding the ball for me. I feel like this is another one that the umpires got wrong. You can see that after Cummings has the ball, Whitfield and Archie run past, which they're allowed to do, and typically the umpire will tell them to clear out, get out of the space. But as he sort of half played on and Archie is actually trailing Whitfield, he's not really with him that close, that Cummings sort of stops and looks at him and says, hey, like, he's in the vicinity, shouldn't that be 50 metres? But instead of resetting, the umpire calls play on and Joe Danaher tackles him, gets a free kick and a goal. I think this is a very poor decision from the umpire. I think he should have said, no, he was too close, reset the kick. He should be able to go back and take a kick as he was awarded without being called for play on when he's barely overstepped the mark and there's players running around him. Just reset the mark, take control of the game, umpire. I feel like this one was an extremely poor controlled game from the umpires. I feel like they lost control, both games really. I thought the umpiring was extremely poor, and I think this is a great example of why the umpires got it wrong. Another example here where Ash gives away a free, and you can see that Dunkley's holding his hands out like, here, give it to me. And the umpire says straight to him. I think he does say Oscar McInerney, but I couldn't quite hear it. And he passes it to Dunkley and then gets paid a 50-metre penalty. I don't understand why a player should be right in front of him saying, come on, give me the ball. And then you get paid a 50-metre penalty for it. I think that's just crap. The umpire just needs to control the game better than that. Or just needs to tell him, give it back to Oscar. Don't give it back to him. To him. Who's him? There's multiple hims on the team, I'm assuming. Got to be more specific than that. Yet again, control the game, number 20. Don't like to single out individual players, but Brent Daniels could have actually cost GWS the game here, realistically. After GWS were paid a free kick, for some reason Brent Daniels tries to soccer the ball as it's rolling away from him outside the centre square. This is not a gimme. This is not an easy goal to kick on your left boot. Anyway, he decides to do it, goes through for a point. The umpire plays play on, and it's only a point. Whereas the free kick was going to Jesse Hogan, your key forward. He's got to go back to him, and he 99 out of 100 times is probably going to slot this goal. And then the Lions don't mount that comeback and don't win. So, yeah, that's a pretty big lesson to learn there. For some reason, Willem Drew was also trying his best to throw the game. That's a bit tongue-in-cheek, guys. After a ball up has been called, for some reason, Willem Drew picks the ball up and takes a shot at goal, even though you can clearly hear the umpires blowing the whistle. And the umpires consider this as time wasting, so it's a free kick to Hawthorn. This was in Port's forward line, and you can see the scores. This was very close, so this is a very, very big brain fade in the last 2 minutes of the game, which could have cost your team the win. How's this individual effort here from Ashcroft? After he breaks one tackle, he eventually finds the ball again, and there's 3 defenders on him trying to hold him up. For some reason, the umpire doesn't blow his whistle that fast. He's able to get the handball over the top, and Lohman kicks a goal. But this was just an absolutely brilliant individual effort there by Ashcroft. And Ashcroft again, he's just an absolute genius with ball in hand. He just somehow finds a way to get ball to boot, ends up with a Cameron goal. This back heel from Sweet was pretty nice. as Lockie Jones bombs the ball inside the forward 50 with only 5 seconds to go. Oddities tries to take the mark and it bobbles around a fair bit, and then somehow it just lands in the lap of Willie Rioli and he kicks a goal. This was probably the best game I've ever seen Willie play. I found this one quite funny. After Hardwick takes a pretty nice contested mark in the defensive 50 for the Hawks, he goes back to kick the ball and kicks it straight into the back of Georgiades' head. And then Darcy Byrne-Jones cleans up with a goal. I've been saying it for a very long time on this channel, but here's another very good reason as why you should keep your feet in a tackle, as Toby Green does this and leads him to kicking a goal. Somehow this wasn't called for holding the ball. I think Toby Green has every right to complain here. The umpire says that you tackled him immediately, but you can see that Ainsworth takes about 3 or 4 steps before he just drops the ball, and yeah, somehow this was not called holding the ball. I think this one's pretty clear. With only a minute 40 left, the Hawks kick it inside the forward 50 and Sicily takes a mark. He goes back to take a shot at goal. He absolutely launches it, but it hits the post, and unfortunately for Hawks, that's the end of the season. The Giants get a steal here from Jones. He kicks it inside the forward 50. Toby Green's not able to take the mark, but everyone's worried about who he's going to handball it to, that he's able to just stand up and kick the goal himself. Horne-Francis receives the ball on the 50. He takes a shot at goal. It's touched anyway, but goes through for a point. And you can see that Impey knows that this is an easy 50-metre penalty. He just goes up to him, just talks a little bit of smack, and Jason Horne-Francis grabs him. I mean, whether Impey flops or not, you just don't need to do this. You just know that Jason Horne-Francis is a hothead. You just have to say a little something to him, and he's going to get angry, rip you to the ground. Easy 50-metre penalty. He's got to be better than this. You can't be giving away 50-metre penalties for stupid stuff like this. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I can remain healthy and be able to do the next Oddities video a lot sooner than this one. Anyway, I'm trying to get this one out as soon as I can. The secret letter, code, whatever we do, is thyroid. Somebody actually suggested that, so thank you very much. That was quite funny. And yeah, leave that word in your comment below. Let's see if we can trick people. Thank you very much for watching. See you next week. Look away now, GWS fans. This is a rerun of your nightmares. Do you reckon this was a free to Sicily? Was he hit too late? Or was it supposed to be downfield like the umpires paid it? Bruce goes through and kicks the goal and Hawks win. What a comeback for them. Welcome to the Umpires Haters Club, GWS. The Crows have a seat here for you. I only got to watch a very small portion of the Vic Country vs SA game for the under 18s, but how was this kick from Howe? It's like the perfect little Irish kick to get to his teammate who unfortunately shanks the kick, but what a wicked kick. What's your opinion on this? Did Lockie Neal kick the goal before the siren went? Before the quarter was over? As far as I understand, the umpire has to hear the siren and then he calls time. So because he didn't call time, goal stands. McAndrew gave away a free in the crucial point of the game, obviously very low scoring, to King. The AFL went back over the footage and said no, the umpire got it wrong, but I guess it's too late. King kicked the goal and the Saints won. We've got to remember that the umpires are humans too, they do make mistakes. I can understand why the umpire saw that and thought it might have been a free, but in the context of the game, it wasn't enough to be a free in my book. Fantastic defensive play here from Starcevic, as Riley West is clearly open by himself. He makes the effort to run back and just get a fist on the mark, stopping the Western Bulldogs from scoring. Another fantastic defensive play, this time here from Graham from the Gold Coast Suns. He doesn't let up, he doesn't let Hill fake him with the inside out step. He lays the tackle and gets called for holding the ball, so very well done to him. As the ball goes inside the forward 50 for the Hawks, it bounces and Ward looks like he's about to kill it, but for some reason doesn't completely push it over the line. Leaves enough room for Jack Gunston to throw the boot out. I'm assuming he's trying to kick it off the top of his boot, but it doesn't get there. It actually hits the bottom of his shoe and hits the studs and then goes through for a goal. That's a pretty unique goal that you probably won't see for a very long time. Mark Keane had a very nice little Irish handball to himself there. I feel like this is something that you do in school when you're just trying to mess with people, but doing it in an actual AFL game, that's pretty ballsy. The umpires really wanted themselves to be heard this week. As you can see, Yo tackles Wardlaw and probably does get him a little bit high or in the back. The ball comes loose and he picks it up and he gets to his knees and he's going to handball it straight away, but he's tackled immediately. In my opinion, no prior opportunity. The umpires paid holding the ball. At this point in the game, with less than 3 minutes left, Jai Simpkin comes through and kicks the goal and North win. The umpires, man, come on. I feel like if you're going to pay this one for holding the ball, you have to do this for every single time this happens, which it happens multiple times in a game, and it's just called a ball up. Why was this one called a free kick for holding the ball at this point in the game with less than 3 minutes out? Umpires just have to do better, in my opinion. Only a minute into it and the Dogs have the ball inside their forward 50. Adam Treloar gets the ball and he kicks towards goal. He probably doesn't hit it as much as he would have liked to. The ball bounces and it just goes straight over the top of Lachie Neal's head. That's extremely unfortunate. That probably should have bounced to him and he would have got the ball and cleared it. But it's gone over his head and through for a goal. Lachie Whitfield receives the ball inside the corridor and he goes inside forward 50. It's an absolute scrubber of a kick. It goes down towards the ground. Frost picks the ball up and he handballs it to his opposition. Then he immediately tackles them and then he gets called for holding the ball. So it's his free kick. The commentators make a bit of a joke about it and say, was that his plan? Handball it to the defender, tackle him, get holding the ball. Crazy. Talking of all these holding the balls and then somehow King is not paid a holding the ball free against when it's clearly tackled and then knocked out in the tackle very late. He had a chance to get rid of it, he didn't. Missed call in my opinion. O'Donnell from the Western Bulldogs puts the ball inside the forward 50. There's a marking contest where Jamari Ugle-Hagan gets paid a free kick for a high contact. Caleb Daniel gets the ball behind the contest and for some reason he hears the umpire. You can clearly see him hesitate. He hears the umpire here pay a free kick. He decides to play on and kicks a point. And then he probably wonders why he doesn't get selected and why he is made the sub. That's not the team thing to do. That's extremely selfish. Go back, let your forward kick the goal. It's probably, you could be overlooked if he kicked the goal, but he didn't. So, not good. Gotta love these solid hits, especially this one here from Reveal on Sanders. Do you reckon McCreary will claim the assist for this? He's clearly going for goal. He's miskicked it, but luckily for him, it's gone straight to Frampton and through for a goal. As Scholl clears the ball for the Crows, they kick it towards the wing, and for some reason, Lockie Murphy has decided to go for mark of the absolute century, and he's missed it by an absolute mile. In the context of the game, this is when the Crows were starting to mount a comeback. And to give away a stupid free like this is just extremely frustrating. Mabior Chol has gone for the point of the year. This could have been possibly goal of the year, but he miskicked it. So this is a fair contender for point of the year. Sardis from the Bombers, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, almost completely missed his boot. Gotta watch out for those ones.
He goes
Not only was this mark by Mabior Chol very impressive and very athletic, athleticism personified as Kelly Underwood would say, you can actually see it's a very clever mark as well, because he knows that Lee Kalia is going to be flying for the mark as well, but he takes him out of the contest early by putting the knee into the side of him, pushes him out and then takes the relatively easy mark in the end. It's just very impressive, so he's thought that out very well and it ends up being quite an impressive mark, so very well done to him. Very smart footy IQ there. After a mark is taken inside the Tigers forward 50, he's going to line up for goal, and this would have probably stamped the Crows out completely at this point in the game. And for some reason, Cumberland's just come over the top. He's very energetic and two-hand pushes Mark Keane for, I guess, the contest before this one. He's gone way over the top, and I mean, Keane does go down fairly easy, but it's two hands in the chest. This is easy for the umpire to reverse the call. This would have been an absolute coach killer. There's only 15 seconds left in the quarter and the Bombers have the ball on the wing and they're charging towards their forward 50. As you can see, there's two players that he could kick it to, or I guess take a shot at goal. He kicks to the two and De Koning just sacrifices his body and just pushes it through for behind. An awesome defensive play there by De Koning. The Lions are trying to progress the ball down on their wing, and Bailey receives the ball from Lachie Neale, and then he tries to palm it in one hand and loses control of the ball and just goes out of bounds. If you can't hold it with one hand, just hold it with two, do the smart thing and get it inside your forward 50. Very well done to Lohman and Lachie McNeil for this contest. They both went very hard at the ball, but the kick inside the forward 50 by Hipwood was absolutely shocking. He's kicked it to no one just to empty space and made his teammates do the work and pay the body sacrifice. That's not a good teammate. I think there was a little bit of confusion about this one. I had a few people comment about why Jack Ginnivan wasn't paid a free kick for this high tackle, but he actually was. You can hear the umpire blow the whistle and pay a high free kick. I don't know if Ginnivan didn't hear it or he decided to play on. Then he gets caught for holding the ball, so this play is totally fine by me. Eric Hipwood finally takes a very nice contested mark and he checks back on his defender, makes sure that Jones is not paying attention. He sees that and plays on and runs towards goal and kicks a very easy goal. Don't know if Jones was looking at other teammates or the umpire to figure out where the mark was, but he got caught sleeping and Hipwood kicked an easier goal than what it would have been for a set shot. What's your opinion on this? I thought that Henry definitely got a touch on it, almost two hands on top of it, and Amati's taken the mark behind him and he's paid it a mark. I thought this would have been paid as a touched ball. I guess Henry didn't put up a huge amount of contest to try and convince the umpire that it was touched, but yeah, what do you think about that one? After Maynard receives the ball, he sees Fritsch and he just knows he's going to absolutely steamroll him. It's a free hit, so he's taken the opportunity and just completely put him straight on his bum. You gotta love these big hits. Has a stiff arm from Hill on Pickett. You gotta love it. As the Tigers send the ball inside the forward 50, a few of the Crows fly for the ball, but there's a crummer right in front, Ryan Mansell, and there is no defender on him at all. I don't know if it was Saligo who was supposed to be on him, but no one's manning him at all. He gets the crumb and kicks a goal. The defense was just really off. Do you think this is a free kick? I thought it should have been. The Verdi's just cleaned up Hollands and no free kick apparently. With only a minute left in the third quarter, the Tigers are rushing just to get a mark, just to hold up the ball. And Presti gets the ball and he kicks it back to, I guess, his other defender, but he's kicked it straight to the Crows. Unfortunately, the Crows can't go down and punish them for it, but this was very strange for such a veteran. Kruger's kicked the ball inside the forward 50 for the Pies, and still side bottom turns back the clock and takes a specky. He goes back and lines up for goal and then just completely shanks a kick as he goes for distance. Toby Green receives a knock on the back of the head from a marking contest, and then he comes back out onto the oval wearing a helmet. Wonder if this is something that we'll see moving into the future. If players get a small hit to the head, it might be a condition that they have to return back to the game with a helmet. What do you think? LDU has the ball inside their forward 50. He kicks it and he finds the target of Darcy Tucker. He goes back and lines up for goal, and I don't know if he's struggling for distance or what, but he kicks it straight into the man on the mark. Shea Bolton is trying to kick the ball towards their forward 50. Strawn takes a mark, and for some reason Graham didn't hear the mark or didn't think it was a mark, and he's run over and tried to tackle the ruckman and given away a 50-metre penalty. I have no idea what he's doing here. This is only a minute into the game, and somehow he just can't hear the umpire at all. And that's it for this week. A little bit longer version. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a long weekend of footy. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers. Draper was really going for goal of the year again. It was a pretty nice move, probably won't win goal of the year, but Langford had other ideas.
And once he gets going, Essendon fans usually get on their feet.
That would have gone through, I think. I reckon that would have gone through for a goal if he leaves it.
The Hawks had a massive chance to kick their second goal of the game here, and the most experienced on the ground, Luke Bruce, just somehow decides not to pass it. Then he falls down onto the ground and gets called for holding the ball. This was pretty much the Hawks game done in the first quarter. I want to say a massive thank you to all the new subscribers who have joined the channel. As you can see that we have 66% of you are still not subscribed. Obviously not everyone is going to, but if we could get closer to 50%, that would be fantastic. So if you do like this sort of content, please do subscribe and leave a like and a comment. It really helps the algorithm out and pushes this video out to more people. Alright, next clip. Right when the Hawks were making a comeback, there's a dropped mark inside the goal square, and the Wizard has a chance to kick a goal and put the Hawks in a really good position, a lot closer to possibly even taking control of the game, and it comes off the side of his boot and he just misses absolutely everything. I bet he wants that one back. I don't mean to hate on BT so often, but this is clearly not a goal. It's clearly hit the post, but somehow BT is like absolutely sure this is a goal.
Schultz with the set shot. Looks good, little right. It's there, I think. It is. Post. It's the post, is it?
Stop. Oh, thank you.
It has.
During the Essendon vs St Kilda game, they actually had the Kangaroos emblem up on the scoreboard for St Kilda, and they realised their mistake, and so they changed it to Geelong. What is going on?
This is just a slap in the face to the Saints, isn't it?
Degoe is just that much of a ball. He doesn't even need to try to fend off. It just happens for him.
He did as well. Gee, it's a risky kick. It's finely tuned. Degoe just...
Somebody needs to investigate these boundary umpires, because I have no idea what is happening this year. There was another one in the Port and Melbourne game. This ball is clearly out of bounds. There's two umpires right there and neither of them call it. It's definitely not something you see every day, but the Hawks and Geelong game was delayed the start of the fourth quarter due to a lightning delay. That's not something you see every day. You could almost say it's odd. But McCreary also has a very nice fend off here as he sends Calamachi down to the ground.
With the footy, some turnovers happening as well.
This is definitely another one that we don't see every day. Ollie Wines goes the spoil and no one contests the second grab, so he goes in and grabs it, and that's a legal mark. He's the only one who touched it. Another one you could definitely say was quite odd. How's the touch from Link McCarthy? He's able to just pick the ball up with one hand, pass it off to his teammate who ends up kicking the goal.
Link McCarthy, Fletcher,
This was pretty much the epitome of the Crows' night on Friday. Whoever decided to put the Crows and Freo game on Friday night should have their head checked. Disgusting scenes. This is coming from a Crow supporter. For this kick by Michael Annie, I bet he wants this one back. I guess when you're on, you're on. This kick by Charlie Curnow was definitely a shank, but somehow he just kicks it so bad that it actually goes through for a goal. How's that for luck?
Perfect. Look at that. Straight through.
BT and the other commentators at Fox Footy are clearly just making up stats at this point, surely.
The two 46ers go at it. Not sure whether that's ever happened before, both ruckmen being 46, JB.
Got it. No. Don't recall it.
I played with a guy number 46 that played ruck Mark Blitzars for a while. Probably come up against these two quite a few times.
Well then.
I thought this kick by Ben Keys was extremely clever to give Rochelle the advantage. It happened so fast, so I've slowed it down so you can see that it is definitely a intentional kick.
Forward, collision coming up. Jones, beeline the footy. Clever little kick.
This kick in from McGovern was extremely ordinary. It's an absolute coach killer, especially when North came back with quite a bit of momentum. If he's going to take that kick straight through the corridor, you got to make sure you hit it.
Ball use surrounded the back half, McGovern, but that's just a massive clanger. And a gift for Powell, who's...
Not entirely sure what's going through Dylan Moore's head here. Brandon Parfitt kind of fakes the handball, but you shouldn't touch this, and gives away an easy 50-metre penalty. At the end of the game, this one didn't really matter because Collingwood won by more than a goal, but it doesn't look like Brody Mychek actually controls the ball enough to be considered a mark, in my opinion. Looks like the ball goes through his arms and down to his hip area, not showing that he controlled the ball fully, but yeah, what do you think about this one?
If it bobbles at all, he's in trouble, isn't he? I'm not sure it did.
Does he have control of it, I guess, BT?
Which part of that is control?
Yeah, the boundary umpire.
This potential goal-saving tackle by Brayshaw definitely changed the momentum of the Freo and Adelaide game. Pretty much from here on out, Freo just had control of the game.
Took it out of the ruck, tried to open it up. Fogarty fed it back through and run down. Just trademark Andrew Brayshaw.
This is how you know that teams are playing together as a team, as Fogarty kicks towards the top of the goal square instead of trying to take a really bad snapshot at goal. He does the team thing and kicks it to the top of the square, ends up in Charlie Curnow's hands. Great teamwork. Hayward marks the ball and he's about 40 metres out on a 45-degree angle. This is definitely should be a drop punt. For some reason he decides to go and tries to snap the ball and clearly misses it. Not sure why you would try this in such a close game. Definitely odd choice.
Tigers kicked 5 in a row. This for 2 in a row to start the last, and it's the...
How good was Cameron here? He gets the ball, bounces off the ground, and a slick little handball to McCluggage, who finishes with a goal.
Goes to ground, flicks it back. McCluggage walks in, and he has kicked a goal.
I know Ned McHenry gets the handball out right at the last second, but he clearly tries to evade his tackler. He gets tackled down to the ground, spun 360, then gets the handball out. Somehow this is not holding the ball. The umpire just has to blow the whistle here. This could have ended quite badly as Jezza Cameron takes a mark just outside the goal square, and straight away you can see he's looking at Big Tom Hawkins and he's saying, do you want it? Do you want it? Do you want it? And he's like, no, just kick the goal. But it's his 350th. You got to feed him, and the man delivered.
And very deliberate. And Tom Hawkins says, do not handball it to me. But he does, regardless.
Jamari Ugle-Hagan goes for a snapshot at goal, and it's not that far out. It's still snap distance on the left, and he leaves it about 10 metres short.
and he's going to hope for a kind bounce here, but it doesn't quite.
What are your thoughts on this one? I know Larkey does pull him down to the ground, but McGovern's over-exaggerated the hit, and he actually ends up hitting his head on the ground. He's got to be careful because he could do some brain injuries with this. Or is that a little bit too extreme? What do you think? Lachie Neale's going to be super sore tomorrow. After smothering this ball, he lands down with his right ankle and he twists it pretty badly. If you've ever done this before, you know how painful this is.
Professional straight away. He's trying. There's the replay. So just a classic roll. He's staying out on the ground though, trying to run it off as we speak.
As Newman's trying to tap the ball out of bounds, Jerry gives him a little push in the side, and as he falls down, the ball actually rolls off of his foot. So it's actually correct. It is out of bounds on the fall. This was a pretty odd out of bounds on the fall. Asava Radigalia. Oh man, every time this guy plays, it's just frustrating to watch. He goes to go for the chest mark, but the ball's behind the line. There's no one else there. Just spoil it through for a point. That's fine. This is an absolute coach killer. What do you think about this last one? I reckon this should have been paid deliberate. There was not that much pressure. He only had eyes to get the ball in for a point. He had no play at the ball at all. I think that should be a free. We saw one very similar get paid in the first week, but for some reason now they've changed it and it's nothing. And that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you do like these videos and you're new, subscribe, leave a comment below with the word gather. That is the secret word for this week. Thanks for watching. See you for the gather round. Hello and welcome to Round 7 Oddities. Just a quick reminder, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more content like this. Jamie Elliott has gone up sky high and taken this wicked mark. I think this is going to be pretty hard to top. You'd have to do something pretty spectacular to take Mark of the Year away from Jamie Elliott. This check side kick by Bobby Hill is unbelievable. He's kicked this 50 metres to hit Jamie Elliott straight out in front for an easy goal. This kick is so hard to execute, but he does it absolutely perfectly. McDonald's had a brain fart as he takes the mark. He backs over the behind line and then kicks through the goal line, which is a point. The goal umpire is straight on it. He knows exactly what's happening, and the field umpire also calls it, and he's totally confused. But by the rule books, this is definitely a point. And with that, he brings the scores level. This mark from Guthrie was pretty awesome to see. He gets up there and he takes a pluck with one arm.
Great to see Guthrie back. Cam Guthrie, climbing long player, ever looked like approaching it for the mark. We see the lead up, the one-handed grab by Guthrie, but everyone else just...
That disposal there from Scott Pendlebury was his 10,000th disposal over his career in the AFL. Absolutely mind-boggling. Well done to him and the Pies. Keane from the Crows has done the exact same thing. Takes the mark, goes over the behind line and then goes through the goal line. Guess you can kind of give him a reasonable excuse as he is an Irishman, but you think they would know the game. At least with this one, the score is so huge, the difference, it doesn't matter in the end. Is the old Crow throw back in? I don't know how the umpire, there's two umpires clearly there, and neither of them have seen this. This looks like a clear throw to me. Petruccelli gives away a 50-metre penalty as the ball has already crossed the boundary line, and he decides to punch it, which is a delay of game and then a 50-metre penalty to the Suns. I don't think he's done it with malicious intent, but they are the rules. Not entirely sure how the umpires decided that this was a high tackle instead of a high fend. I honestly believe the umpire meant to give the free kick to Newcombe, but for some reason the very slight arm on the shoulder is enough to give away the free, but the elbow to the throat is not a free. That's just bizarre to me. Collins and Petruccelli run into each other, and obviously Collins, the bigger body, he survives. He's fine. Petruccelli goes down. Collins gets the ball and goes to kick it, and then he just I don't know if the bump sort of affected him, but he's just kicked an absolute scrubber on the ground. Did anybody else notice the camera work from the North Melbourne and Adelaide game was quite bizarre? You could see the camera zoomed out several times on the stream I was watching. Not entirely sure what was going on there. How's this for a double oddity? Bo McCreary, if he picks this up cleanly, it's a goal. He fumbles it, it goes back out, and then somehow Dacos isn't paid a free kick. Mason Redmond has no genuine attempt at the ball, and the umpire's right there, and somehow Dacos still doesn't get the free. Himmelberg lays a very nice tackle, and you can see the umpire actually points the wrong way, or he says high, and I think Himmelberg and the Crows believe that it's actually free against them, but the umpire's actually paid a high fend off, so it is his free. I'm glad the umpire corrected in the end for what I thought was the right decision. What do you think about this call here? I think the boundary line umpire is a little bit out of position, so he's probably not in the right spot to make the call. Watching it live, I thought this was out. What do you think? Was this in or out? DBJ goes back and he ends up slotting the goal at a pretty crucial point in that game. Callum Ward tries to break through and it looks like he's going to take a shot at goal, and then it was a really awkward bump kind of tackle from Dunkley. In the end, I think Dunkley's knee actually blocks Ward from taking a kick. Both of them looked really awkward falling down, but they were both okay. McDonald goes to kick the ball to a teammate, but it's an absolute stinker of a kick. He's just kicked it straight to Lafau, and the Melbourne defence aren't quick enough to get back. This is an absolute coach killer and also defence. He would have copped an absolute spray from May for that one. How's the pickup from Wicks at full speed to go in and then finish off with a goal? We all know what happened from here, but look at the time, only a minute 50 left. The ball goes inside the forward 50, and for some reason Langford is just left alone. Don't know who his defender is, where is he? Anyway, he goes back, takes a set shot at goal and misses to draw the game. Mac Andrews taken a really nice mark. Unfortunately, it was on his own ruckman, but luckily he didn't hurt him.
Places it back.
Tuke Miller of all people has shanked this kick. He's trying to hit Collins and he misses. It goes out of bounds on the full and Waterman makes them pay.
Round he goes. Oh, he's got that covered. Close to goal. He really misses. Oh. Out of bounds.
It's really interesting to see how some umpires would pay this a dangerous tackle, but this one is holding the ball. I think it really could have gone either way. What do you think's the right call?
Sensational from the Giants.
Rochelle takes on Shizu and doesn't do much of a job, but well done by Harry. Gets the... Rochelle takes on Shizu and doesn't...
Rochelle from the Crows has nutmegged Bailey Scott, and he does it perfectly. He gets the ball back and then kicks it inside the forward 50. Don't you love to see Rioli when he plays like this? He's just running around the defenders like they don't even exist, like they're witches' hats, and he finishes it off with a very nice goal. As the ball's kicked towards the goal, Brody Mychek comes across and takes a very nice mark. And again, look at the scores. It's only 1 point in it. And he comes in and kicks this absolute stinker.
Langford has 4 at the other end. Never got that going at all. Tyson Stengel didn't fly.
You can see Dempsey's running towards the ball. This is when Carlton were making their big comeback. And just at the last minute, he slightly pulls back, doesn't go in for the hard ball get, and then gets absolutely ragdolled. I just found that pretty funny. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, please do subscribe. I'm trying to hit 15,000 subscribers by the end of the season. So if you are new, you want to see more stuff like this, please do leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment below, helps out the algorithm, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome to Oddities Round 5. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now before we get started, there was one player this week who had the most tackles. He had 14 tackles in a single game. Who was that player? Leave a comment below on who you think it was, and in the middle of the video I will reveal the answer. Leaving a comment and a like on this video will help push this video out to more viewers, so if you would like to help the channel out, please do so. After Petrarca receives the ball inside the centre square, he has a chance to set his team up for a goal. As you can see, he's the most forward player, so he's waiting for his teammates to get back. They don't get back in time, so I guess he just gets frustrated and goes for goal, and he miskicks it, and he's trying to kick it, I don't know what that would be, 80 plus metres, and just turns it over. Very odd behaviour from someone of his calibre. Charlie Cameron takes a mark and for some reason plays on. I'm assuming he hasn't heard the umpire pay a mark, or he heard someone say touch play on. I don't think there's any other logical reason for this. In the end, it doesn't really matter because he kicked the goal anyway, but just a bit strange to see him play on for no reason at all.
You can see the finger of Stephen May clearly move there.
Yes, it does.
This really took the sting out of the game. The game was, in my opinion, already over. Geelong were so much in control of this. And then for some reason they do a score review for something which was a ball fumbled over the point line. It wasn't even for a goal. I mean, what's 1 point in a game that's already 50 plus points? In the end, this took a whole minute for them to review the footage, and then in the end they just said, oh, we can't tell anyway, so umpire's cool. They got to cut this out. Langdon's fake here on Zorko was pretty nice. I think it just looked pretty cool because Zorko was pretty dramatic on the way that he broke his ankles. For me, there were 2 free kicks here. I thought that Cameron was held a fair bit, and then after that he was actually tripped when he was trying to get up. I have no idea why the umpires didn't call this a free kick. I reckon I was watching this and I was saying, come on, that's got to be a free kick, man. As Joe Danaher goes for goal, he kicks it bit too high and it doesn't go through for a goal, but in the end it comes down to the ground, and you got to watch out for Charlie Cameron because he is sneaky and he gets it and kicks the goal. Have absolutely no idea how this was not called for a throw. The umpire is standing probably 10 metres away and somehow he thinks this is a legal handball.
Defensive.
How's the effort from the bloke in the crowd here? You can see he's going for the mark, or at least just to grab the ball, get a feel for it, and he doesn't come up with it, but got to appreciate the effort. For me, it does look like Newcomb gets the handball out here, but the umpire calls him for holding the ball, incorrect disposal. I don't know, the umpire's on the bad angle here. I feel like the other umpire could probably call this one. If all the umpire can see is backs, I think you got to let this one play. On the weekend, we found out that Draper actually plays Supercoach.
But well, I'll take that.
You played Supercoach?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
You're good at it?
No, I was terrible last year. I'm a bit better this year.
After Owens takes a really solid mark, he goes back and tries to kick it to his defender, but he kicks it a little bit too far, and Jesse Hogan says thank you very much. And the answer to the question I asked earlier was who had the most tackles this week, and that would be Will Graham from the Gold Coast Suns. So very well done to you. If you got that answer correct, I definitely wouldn't have guessed that. 10 points to you. Jesse Hogan takes a pretty solid contested mark, and in the end there's a little bit of push and shove, and he pushes Marshall and then he pushes him back and Jesse Hogan flops. The umpire just says stand up, but I'd love to see this get a fine, or I don't know. I don't like this in the game. In basketball you get 1 warning, and if it happens again it's a technical foul. Do you think we need something like that in the game? How good was this effort from Berry? He has a 3-on-1 contest and all he has to do is just bury his body. He just goes full in, hits it back towards the goal square and sets it up for a teammate to kick a goal. It's too bad we don't have goal assist sort of stats that we all love, but this one is awesome. Ones like this, I think you just have to laugh. As Petrarca's getting tackled, you can see he does have a chance to get rid of the ball, but right at the end he decides to kick to make sure he's not called for holding the ball. He kicks the ball, disposes of it, and there is a player fairly close to him. It dribbles out of bounds and the umpires call it insufficient intent. I don't know what more you want him to do. Aliir saw this handball coming and he absolutely cleaned him up legally. Very well done. You love to see solid tackles like this in the game still. Do you reckon McCluggage sold this free kick to the umpire? He definitely did get hit in the head, but it didn't seem like the umpire was going to pay the free kick until McCluggage threw his hands up to hold his head to say like, oh, I've been hit in the head. What do you think? You gotta love seeing a perfect fend off here like Curtis just did on Parfitt.
Drills it! And he's had a day out.
But he got bench pressed here.
Did.
Owens takes a nice mark just in front of the point post, and then he goes back and he has a regular snapshot at goal, left foot or check side on the right, and then he just decides to miss everything altogether. I guess Aliir loses his balance here, or he's just completely missed the ball. As he gets it down from a contest, he tries to clear it forward and just misses absolutely everything. Maurice Rioli Jr. takes a mark inside the goal square, and then I guess he thinks his defender's far enough back, so he decides to play on, and his defender smothers the ball, but luckily for him, Shea Bolton's there and he cleans up the absolute mess this was. I believe Yo is going for the ball, but he completely smacks Baker straight in the head and the umpire doesn't pay a free kick. I thought they would have picked this one up, but as you can see on the replay, he's hit him with the elbow and then gathered the ball and ended up kicking a goal. Hey, isn't that my line?
Yeah, that is a real oddity.
Carlton send it inside their forward 50, and both Mackay and Owies both have chances to ice the game versus the Crows, and Owies loses his defender, runs around the corner and just completely miskicks the ball, doesn't even get a point. What's up, brother? What in the world is Reid doing? After he gets rid of the handball, he just jumps on top of Mansell. What are you doing, bro? How good's the grip strength on Lockie Jones? He just absolutely ragdolls Bailey Banfield here. You love to see tackles like this. Umpire swallowed his whistle on this one. This was clearly holding the ball, and then possibly a dangerous tackle on the second one. The umpire called nothing but a ball up. Umpire's fallen asleep on this one, I think. How's this for the AFL footy bounce? I don't know what else you call it, just the shape of the ball is just so odd that this should have gone through for a goal, and then it shouldn't, and then it might, and then, man, this is just, I don't think I've seen the ball bounce like that for a very, very long time. And that's it for round 5. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, please do leave a like and subscribe if you're new. The code word for this one is RED. I'll see you next week. What in the world was Billy Frampton thinking here? He's just totally cleaned him up, and this is the easiest call for an umpire, front on contact. It was probably going to go through for a goal anyway, but this just seems really dumb.
Running into screen. 3v2, 4v2, they were the ones who were scrambling quicker. The Pies trying their best to get back, but a turnover in the middle of the ground, an errant handball to Nick.
The security guards at the Adelaide Oval are definitely not going to be in the 100 metre sprint at the next Olympics. You can just see they're so slow. For some reason they've got their back turned to the crowd so they can watch the footy, not the crowd. And I guess that's why this guy got over. But anyway, I think he got a 3-year ban. And just, yeah, don't do this. This is dumb. This was pretty funny by Shrey. You can see he flips the coin and he looks up in the air as if it's staying up in the air. This is pretty good. I don't think I've seen this before. Pretty funny. Probably one of the goals of the game that killed Collingwood's chance of coming back. Do you think this one was out of bounds? I think everyone just heard BT say, "That was out of bounds! That was out of bounds!" so many times. So I won't make you relive it, even though I just kind of did. Watching this from this first camera angle, I definitely thought this was a 50-metre penalty against Tom Lynch. But after watching the replay from the other angle, do you think this was enough contact to the head or even to the body to be a 50-metre penalty? I think the only thing that really hurt him is Lynch is very late to the contest. The mark's pretty much taken, he's almost got his feet back on the ground before he makes contact. But do you think this is enough to be a 50-metre penalty? After watching the second camera angle, no. I don't know what sort of tackle Mark Blitzars has been training, but this is not it. It gives away a 50-metre penalty. Very strange. Almost odd, you could say.
And a 50-metre penalty as well. Kolodjasny again, he gave the other one away, I think, as well.
Take a listen to what BT says here. I have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. He's talking about fishing and nets. I don't know. I'm not a fisherman, but come on, man. What the hell are you talking about?
Look at that. It's like a massive net. It's like a prawning net. JB, I don't know whether you've ever been on the banks of the Swan and tried to catch prawns in a drag net, but that's what it looks like. We'll get a look at it later. Here's Puffett.
This one is an absolute coach killer. Somehow Reef McInnes finds himself in the forward 50 all by himself. The ball goes over the pack mark and it just falls in his lap. I'm sure in the coach's box there was nothing nice said about this play.
Was the speed in which they went forward?
Yeah, and we saw it just then. Jamie Elliott was the last person in the line that took the mark.
You don't see Darcy Moore make too many mistakes, and especially not in the first quarter. Somehow he just handballs this to Hill and he takes the advantage and kicks the goal. The Pies are in big trouble. Guthrie cleverly takes the ball and hits the point post, that's the throw in, and you can see everyone else is sort of stopped except for the umpires. The umpires haven't blown the whistle, so it's kind of like it's play on, but everyone knows it's not. So everyone just sort of stands around just waiting for the umpire to do something. How good's this fake handball by Finlayson? He fakes one and he actually trips his defender right in front of him as well. Really nice fake, and somehow this curves back for a goal. In another play, Finlayson's going for goal and he sort of snuck his way out to widen the angle, and then he just completely shanks the kick anyway. The Pies had a night to forget, and Frampton yet again just does Frampton things, and he handballs it straight into Darcy Moore's face. What in the world are these guys doing at the moment? This was really well done by the umpires. You can see in live speed that you're not entirely sure who the ball comes out of. The umpires also don't know. They don't have the privilege of watching the super slow-mo to see whose foot it came off last. And they do the right thing, they come together and they can't say for sure whose foot it came out on. So in the end, it's a throw-in, which is the right decision.
So you're not certain? We have to throw it in.
No, that's the correct decision, just like the...
This is probably one of the most impressive kicks I've seen so far this season. You can see Ollie Henry marks the ball on 50 metres. You can see Dempsey's running towards goal and he just hits him perfectly on the chest. This is probably a 60-metre kick, and he's just absolutely nailed this kick. Well done.
On the end of it, driving ball here, good direction to Henry. Ollie Henry to wheel and go, got the one out with Cameron over the back is Dempsey.
The Higgins kick was probably a little bit closer. It almost was in, it almost was out, you weren't quite sure, but this one is completely out. Somehow Langford is able to continue to play on. You can see the Sydney defender slows down because he knows it's out of bounds, but somehow he was able to play on. What is even going on with the umpires at this point?
Very out to us, and by that replay, I think it confirms it was very, very much out of bounds. And the fans who are down behind us.
Just as equally impressive as DBJ's goal was the falcon that Tresice gets. He's not able to get his hands up, and in the end it just falcons him. Comes down, DBJ through for a goal.
The target. Nervous moments for Tresice. Volley through.
Luke Jackson has a early contender for Mark of the Year. What do you think? Do you reckon this will make the top 10? It's probably a little bit early to call, but there'll probably be better stuff throughout the year, I reckon.
Hooks it a touch left. Big fly, Jackson. Nice highlight early.
Jared Witts had the Falcon of the Week last week, and this week it goes to Rowan Marshall. Just straight through the fingers and straight on the noggin.
I can imagine that bandage got in his eyes, but it doesn't look like it has.
Only 50 seconds in and we get the first shank. This is just a terrible kick inside the corridor. You have to make sure you hit this, and he's just completely shanked it. There's two Crows either side of Pedler and Taylor Walker leading to him with no man on him. And what do? You kick it inside the forward 50, trying to be selfish and kick a goal. In the end, Taylor Walker gives him a massive spray, which is well deserved in my opinion. Just really poor team play. The Crows also have issues. How's the slips catch by Taylor? He probably should have been in my Brownlow votes looking back at this game, but this mark here was absolutely awesome. Very surprising that there wasn't much more talk about this, but you can see Toby Green actually goes up with the foot out, the studs up, and it's not a free kick. He does make contact with the other player. It's not very forceful contact, but he does still make contact. What do you think? Should this been a fine or a free kick at least? Should have this been paid a mark to Tim Taranto? He probably had it long enough, but I don't know if he was holding it enough, if that makes any sense. What do you think? Is this a mark? How's this tackle from where? Chesser tries to throw him around and push him on the ground, but he just holds on for dear life and gets called for holding the ball. Great tackle. Massive collision here between Papley and Laverty. You just love it when the two guys go really hard at the ball and just have nothing but eyes for the footy, so well done to them. What are your thoughts? Should this been a free kick, or is it fair play? Zerk Thatcher fakes not once, not twice, but 3 times on the handball, so much so that he kind of fakes himself out. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Just a quick little reminder that if you do want to support the channel, you can become a member of the channel. It's only a very small amount per month, but it does help me out massively. So I do appreciate everyone who currently is a member. You can see them on the screen. Cammers, Sean Ducks, Austin, Flex. I'm not sure how to... Availing Tuna. Is that how you pronounce it? Let me know. And Reroar. Thank you so much to you guys for being members of the channel. If you want a shout out in these Oddity videos, be sure to become a member and I will start to shout you guys out. Thank you so much and I'll see you next week. Before we get started, Troy Smith over in Bali has been arrested for meth possession. He's a Crows supporter and his first words were, "Go the power." This guy's looking at life or possibly even being killed over there, and his first thoughts are to troll Port Adelaide. Pretty funny. Did you guys know that Albo was a Hawk supporter? I don't think it's just for show because you can actually see him singing the song, so he probably is a true supporter. Now before we fully get into the video, my goal is to reach 15,000 subscribers by the grand final game. So if you're new here and you like these Oddity videos, be sure to leave a like. This episode is extra long, so thank you again for watching. Let's get to it. Harley Reid has taken a contender for Mark of the Year. I still don't think it's going to beat Elliott though. Switkowski is kicked inside the forward 50, Nat 5 takes a solid contested mark, and for some reason doesn't go back to take the set shot. He handballs over the top, and Sharp decides to bicycle kick it and miss everything. That was an extremely hard watch. We now know that this Collingwood supporter has been given a 12-month ban from any game at the MCG. 6th month suspended one, so that means he will be able to come back next year, but pretty much the rest of this year he will not be able to attend the MCG. Do you reckon if he snuck in, you'd be able to recognise him? I thought this one was quite funny. After Liam Ryan goes back and kicks a nice goal, The Fox Footy graphic actually shows Tim Kelly. Do they not know the difference? That's not a good look, guys. I am kind of happy that the goal umpires don't mess around and say, was it a goal, was it touched, whatever, but I felt like this one needed a bit more of a review. Probably didn't matter in the end, as you can see the scoreline. It possibly could have had a big outcome on the rest of the game, as Melbourne made their comeback. I don't think they reviewed it quick enough to determine if it was touched or not. It's a bit hard to see, but from the video that I saw, I actually did think it was touched. After the ball spills out the back, you can see Jack Viney looks like he's the only one who's actually putting in some effort to try and keep this ball in, and he does, and he taps it back in, and Caleb Windsor kicks a goal. He goes to score review, and well done to him. He kept it just in, he was there at the right time, and it eventually goes through for a goal. I'm sure I wasn't the only person watching this game, and I'm a Crows fan, so I don't care about either of these teams. That was frustrated by this call from the umpire. I felt like Kemp definitely exaggerated the contact and probably forced himself down. It did look like an awkward tackle, but in the context of the game, I don't think it's a dangerous tackle, and this stopped Melbourne from kicking an easy goal. Rowan Marshall has taken a solid mark to save a goal, and then for some reason decides to kick it back 15 metres straight back to Jack Ginnivan. This one needs to go long, centre of the line at probably not a great one, or just go to the boundary line, just kick it towards the 50 metre arc, just get it out of there. For some reason the ruckman tries to play a small kick-in roll and eventually turns it over, but wait, it gets worse. Jack Ginnivan misses. Take a look at the time and the score. Fogarty takes a mark just outside the 50 metre mark. He's got plenty of time, he just needs to think this through, and for some reason he kicks it to absolutely no one. I'm assuming he probably wanted Rochelli to run back and get it, but that's still a very risky move to put your teammate in. What do you think he was trying to do? How's this mark from Zach Guthrie? Rioli definitely didn't like it, and he ends up giving away a 50 metre penalty, and then he just refuses to move. Zach Guthrie holds his arm, and he gets a double 50 metre penalty. Talk about a coach killer. Voss takes a solid mark inside the forward 50, and as he kicks for goal, you can see he celebrates, and I guess at least the camera angle that we see, it looks like it goes through for a goal, but the goal umpire says no. The goal umpire said it's missed. This one was the exact same scenario as well. It's from about the same position on the ground. So I'm assuming it must be just a camera angle, but I for sure thought this went through for a goal as well. But according to this umpire, yet again, it was a behind. What do you think? Did it go through for a goal? Not that it would change the outcome of the game though. What in the world was Bailey Banfield doing here? He takes a mark inside the forward 50, he tries to play on, doesn't get around the defender, and then kicks it to a worse position on the opposite side of the ground. What is going on? Charlie Cameron's taking a shot at goal and doesn't quite make the distance, but whatever happened to staying in between the goals and your opposition player, the Crows defence do not do this, and it's an easy goal to Brisbane. Jack Scrimshaw has copped one of the worst bounces you could ever get in footy. It bounces straight back and Saints pick it up and kick a goal. Probably thought it was going out, but bad luck. The speed of Cameron and just the want for the ball is very hard for a defender to stop, and he chips through this really nice goal. Charlie Curnow's trying to kick it inside the forward 50 and it comes off the outside of the boot and just completely misses everything. Aaron Norton and co just did whatever the hell they wanted, and this is a pretty prime example. You lose one defender from him taking himself out on the umpire, and he just goes past 3 defenders and kicks a very easy goal. After Jones takes the mark, he stands back up and you can see Banks just looks at him, and for some reason, he's clearly not thinking, just taps the ball away, and this is an easy 50 metre penalty. What are you doing? If you made it this far into the video, surely this video deserves a like and subscribe if you're new, and leave the comment below, screen. As Gawn and Pitnet fight for the tap, kind of looks like both of them punch it, but the umpire's paid a free kick against Gawn and he's absolutely certain, and Gawn just gives him the stink eye. Bit funny, Jake Stringer's taking a shot at goal here. He misses, but it goes over and Kyle Langford takes the mark and ends up kicking the goal. So you put your hand up, say, yep, that was a good pass. How great was this tap by English and then the finish by Treloar? When the Dogs play in sync, they are a really good team to watch, but their good and bad performances are too far apart. Moore has a defender running at him, so he has to handball over the top, and poor old Josh Dacos knows it's coming, and Darling just absolutely floors him, but good on both of them. They sort of laugh it off and he picks him back up. As Horne-Francis is taking a shot at goal, it doesn't quite make it, and you can see there's 3 Geelong defenders there. They all miss it. Dixon just taps it in and Rioli kicks a very easy goal. The defenders have to do better than that. Just kill it. Wanganeen Miller is something special. He sold the candy not once, not twice, but 3 times. Ballard drops the mark and then goes to handball it, but LDU steals the ball, goes over the top to Curtis, but they run out of time. He thought he kicked a goal. Poor old North Melbourne. I'm assuming Cox didn't know who was behind him. He was just trying to get the ball clear. But unfortunately, it's your ruckman, and he's handballed it down towards his feet. And then obviously, he fumbles it, and GWS are able to come in and kick a very easy goal. I guess if you see it is your ruckman, just put extra strength on the handball just to get it over the line and just go, oh, whoops, that was a mistake, just to avoid this goal. The Saints did themselves no favours, and here's one example. After Jack Ginnivan gets crunched and a free kick is paid, it's clearly a free kick to him. The Saints defender kicks the ball away and gives a 50-metre penalty, which turns into a certain goal. After Chandler takes the mark, he kicks over the top to Petrarca, and he's too worried about what he's going to do next, so he fumbles the mark, ends up going back and kicking it, and because of that fumble, I think that's the reason why he lost. Usually he's not that rushed. Very strange to see for him. Newman was that fast and that slippery. He did a 360 and he just completely dropped the ball. Spun himself out of the ball. How does that happen? Jake Stringer's lining up for a very much needed goal, and he comes off the side of the boot, and he's very lucky even to score a point with this kick. How's a little soccer chip here from Sam Walsh? That looked pretty wicked. Ollie Hollins receives the ball from Mackay, and as he's running, Alex Neil-Bullen kind of looks like he does push him, but he holds on to him for a tackle, and I thought this should have been called holding the ball. What do you think? And that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I have reduced the Brownlows videos, as I told you. I'll probably do maybe once every 5 rounds. It was just getting a bit repetitive, and I felt like I was saying the same things over and over. So I'll do like a 5-game recap, I reckon, at probably this week for round 10 and then round 15 and so on. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Please leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment as well. It really helps the algorithm push this video out to more viewers, and let's grow this community. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Hello and welcome to Oddities round 15. This week we're going to look at all the videos, all the clips that I found that were extremely odd. Thank you for stopping by. In this first clip you can see 2 GWS players, I think it's Himmelberg and Lockie Ash. They sort of miscommunicate and think either one of them is going to go for the ball. They don't, and then James Rowbottom comes through and says thank you very much. Papley ends up kicking a goal. I felt like this was a pretty telling point in the game. where the Giants almost seemed to give up, and from here on out it was just purely Sydney Swans. In the fourth quarter, when the game's already completely done, the Brisbane Lions absolutely spanking Port Adelaide. Joe Danaher marks on the 50-metre arc, and of course he goes through and kicks the goal. But wait, is this the same umpire that said Ben Keays' goal wasn't a goal last year? I don't know if it is, but he looks very familiar to me. I'm not entirely sure. But like, what is this bloke doing? It's clearly gone through for a goal. He even asked the umpires, did it go through for a goal? Because he has no idea. He actually asked both the boundary umpires and the field umpire, and you can just see the field umpire's face. He's like, really? Like, at this point of the game, when they're 70 points up, and you're asking this question now? Like, I just want to go home, bro. It's obviously paid a goal in probably one of the fastest arc reviews you'll see. It's clearly gone through for a goal, and it's missing the pads by an absolute country mile. If this is the same bloke from the Ben Keays incident, come on, just give someone else a shot, surely. I felt like this was just the absolute definition of Port's day. Brisbane Lions obviously spanking him at this point, so a goal means nothing at this point. But you can see that Bergman has this mark absolutely lined up, cleaned up. It's totally his. And for some reason, Radigalia comes through to spoil, or I think he tries to mark it himself. In doing so, he's taken out his teammate and lost the mark, and Rayner says thank you very much and kicks the goal. I remember saying it at work when the Port fans were saying Radigalia is really going to help the back line of Port, but he is just the decisions he makes are just truly bizarre, and it astonishes me how he repeatedly gets games in the seniors when he puts up efforts like this. Again, I don't know what I'm talking about. That was Bailey that kicked the goal, not Rayner. Okay, moving on to the next clip, you can see that Jeremy Cameron marks the ball just inside the 50-metre arc, and later goes back to kick the goal, and the siren goes. Now, BT's very confused because the umpire has his hands up and he assumes that means it's play on. He's actually signalling that time has ended, that's the end of the quarter. But that's not the controversy here, because Jeremy Cameron actually does go off his mark. But I think the reason why it wasn't called play on, and this cannot be reviewed, is because the field umpire is actually standing at 90 degrees to where it is. So from there, it would be very hard to see if Jeremy Cameron is over the mark. The camera angle is obviously right behind, so we can see it on the screen. But from where the umpire is, the field umpire, I don't think he was able to see it. So therefore, he thinks it's a legal kick, and it goes through for a goal. I actually think it probably should have been classed as play on, because the umpires, they always say, you always usually have a field umpire that comes up and says you have to kick over the man on the mark, and he didn't do that. So I think it should have been play on, and I don't think that should have been paid a goal. What do you think? A big thank you to Orange Wolfie Shorts for sending this clip through. You can see that the Seagulls have run rampant at the MCG. I feel like the Seagulls almost outnumbered the fans there watching that night. Only 28,000. Got to do better than that, guys. How good was this individual effort by Durham here? He just continually gets the ball going forward. He won't get credited with a goal or a goal assist for this, but this goal was purely because of his effort inside the midfield. He just kept going forward. He only gets the one handball possession for that, but he had several touches on it and eventually results in a Essendon goal. So very well done to him. He was the best on that night in my opinion. In the fourth quarter, when North were making a bit of a comeback, you can see Langdon receives the ball inside, well, just outside the forward 50, and he's going to put the ball inside the 50 to have a set shot at goal. But Aiden Core comes through with a smother, and it's quite spectacular in my opinion, because he's put his body on the line, and also knowing that he could have possibly injured Langdon or given away a free, but he's executed this perfectly and stopped the inside 50. That's my defensive play of the week. Watching this one live, I totally thought this was a throw, but maybe the umpire knew more than me because he was right there. He was very close. But watching the replay, this is a clear throw by Zach Merritt. He's not got the second hand to that ball, and just how quick it was as well. There's almost no way he could have got that off as a handball. The umpire didn't pay it, and it resulted in an Essendon goal, just as the West Coast Eagles were challenging and making a comeback. I feel like this is a pretty massive error by the umpire, especially when they were so close. But I guess for the theatrics, you just call play on. I'm not entirely sure why the umpire hasn't paid a 50-metre penalty for this. because you can clearly see it's a Freo home game. This would have been an easy 50-metre penalty. Do you reckon Switkowski flopped to the ground, or did the Gold Coast defender actually put him down to the ground? It's probably a bit of both. Switkowski was probably playing for the 50-metre penalty. The umpire didn't pay it, but I've seen less being given a 50-metre penalty for this, so I felt like that should have been paid. What do you think? Is anyone able to explain the ruling around this one a little bit better for me? Because I feel like Harry Sheezel had plenty of time to dispose of the ball. He didn't. And as he's tackled by Langdon, he gets spun almost 360 degrees and the ball comes loose. But the umpire says that the ball's been knocked out in the tackle. But I feel like Sheezel's had plenty of time to dispose of the ball and he didn't. Therefore, and the ball comes out, I feel like that has to be holding the ball, right? Can anyone explain that a little bit better to me? Because this one I actually don't understand why that wasn't paid. I guess Lachie Neale was probably just tired in this instant and he's just had a brain fart. But in this tackle where Alir holds him up, Lachie Neale clearly picks the ball up and tries to have it one hand over the line to signal the throw-in. And I guess, like I said last week, I do like to see these paid because you can't use the boundary as a safety net. And the umpires actually paid insufficient intent to keep this in, which is absolutely the correct call in my opinion. I just would like to see this paid when it's in a tackle where they've had prior to get rid of it. Pay insufficient intent or holding the ball. But very well done to the umpire. I agree with this decision. This is definitely free in my opinion, where Finlayson's got his arms around Harris Andrews, but Harris Andrews just has to absolutely make sure that the umpire sees this, and he just, as he falls down to the ground, he sort of jumps out with his arms out, which to me looks quite hilarious. As Dangerfield kicks the ball towards their forward 50, the ball bounces on the ground, but Wiedering's good enough to get the ball and do a little kill basketball move around his back, and I don't know, I just thought it was pretty interesting. Well done to him. Pretty good for a big fella. Just the lack of communication between the Geelong defenders just caused this ball to get to ground, and it only took two Carlton forwards to go back and forth, a little 1-2, and then go through and kick a goal when there was up to 4 defenders there at one point. Just shows you the differences between the two clubs of where they're at in this season. Curtis did hold on to the tackle a little bit long and his teammates came in to remonstrate, and you can see that he actually pushes Clary with an open hand in my opinion. The umpires called this a prohibited contact free, but you can see the delay in when he's actually hit him to when Clary actually starts to fall down. It clearly hasn't pushed him that hard, he just knows the umpire's watching and milks a free kick. May got a fine for that. We've been screaming out for it for so long. The AFL have actually fined someone for staging, and I am so thankful for this. You can see that this is a totally legal tackle, but May tries to trick the umpire into paying a dangerous tackle by holding his head like he's just slammed his head on the deck, which you can see in the replay he hasn't. The umpire falls for it and pays a dangerous tackle, a free kick to Melbourne, but thankfully the MRO have stepped in and said, no, you're not allowed to do that. That is a fine. Finally, they might actually be doing something about staging. You got to feel for the players sometimes, because so many times you see players run through for this exact same situation and the umpire doesn't pay anything. But for some reason, I guess because he hesitated, he didn't run the ball through immediately, that he did have the chance to kick it, which technically I do agree with, but then you see it also, the umpires say, no, there's a player within 3 metres, the immediate vicinity, which there was, and then it's not insufficient or deliberate. So, I don't know, I'm really confused around this. Can anyone tell me if this is actually the right call or not? I think it should have just been paid a behind, in my opinion. They say you'll never forget your first AFL goal, but Wealthy hands this ball off to try and trick the West Coast Eagles defenders, and then Caddy comes through and kicks a pretty good goal off his left boot. How's that for your first snag? As Cripps kicks the ball inside the forward 50 towards the goal line, I felt like Williams could have gone at this ball a little bit harder. I don't know if he thought Harry Mackay was going to go for it, but he looked like he hesitated a little bit and then in the end gets called for holding the ball because he does jump on it in the end. But as a small forward, this is your bread and butter. The ball comes down to ground, attack it, get it, and then he could have either handballed it or take a shot at goal, but felt like he hesitated a little bit too long and paid the ultimate price. I didn't actually record the earlier incident, but there was something very similar, but in the opposite direction, where Brisbane took a mark and one of the Port defenders tried to slap the ball out as he was sort of going to go for the kick. And the umpire paid a 50-metre penalty. And then this exact same thing happened where Charlie Cameron is actually behind Aliir and he tries to smack the ball out as he goes for a kick, but it's not 50. I mean, look at the score, it's not going to change the outcome, but why is it 50 for one, but 50 not for the other? Inconsistent yet again. As Sweet marks the ball, he kicks inside the forward 50 and it ends up being with Ollie Lord, and for such a big fella to kick this off balance and go through for a goal, this was pretty awesome and probably didn't get the reaction that it deserved. I mean, depending on the scoreline and also who's commentating, especially seeming the Orange team aren't playing, probably was a little bit lackluster call in my opinion for such a goal. Go the pair, I guess. Kelly Underwood 2024. Again, I thought this was a free kick gone missing. As Kemp gets the ball, he tries to evade Graham Myers and he does fall down to the ground, he does slip and he doesn't try to dispose of the ball at all, but the umpire calls the ball up. And I'm with Graham Myers here. I don't know how this wasn't a free kick. The umpire says he slipped. I don't care if he slips or not. He made no genuine attempt to get rid of the ball and he also tried to evade the defender. That's a free kick every day of the week, in my opinion. After Jimby gets a free kick, Liam Ryan decides to play on, take the advantage, but he actually runs the wrong way and he's probably thinking, why am I so clear? I'm going to go for a goal, but then luckily he spots a teammate who points the other way and says, no, we're going the other way. All of this within the first 10 seconds of the game. Ouch. I love how strong and confident Rayner was in this play. He just pushes two Port defenders off like absolutely nothing and goes through and kicks the ball inside the forward 50. You just got to love the brute strength. As Josh Tracy is getting the ball inside the forward 50, he just absolutely bodies Sam Collins, which is no easy feat. And then he knows he's going to be out of this next play, so he just takes out another Gold Coast player. Well done to him. I guess if you can't make it, just use your body as a battering ram and take out their best defender. Well done to him. It actually ends up being a result of a point, which is possibly a contender for point of the year. Team point of the year, I guess. Someone's probably going to cop a fine for this, but I just thought the audio of the umpire falling down was hilarious. The noise he made was just weird. It sounded like something out of Elder Scrolls or something. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video next time. Let me know if you still like this format that I'm trying out, or it's a little bit more talkative, a little bit more fun. Let me know in the comments below. Appreciate it.
46 point.
Hello and welcome to the Gather Round Oddities. Thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. It's been amazing. Let's try to get to 15,000. If you're new, please do like and subscribe. After Zorko kicked a cheeky goal, is there a somewhat AFL YouTube celebrity in the crowd there? Someone of the egg variety? Is that you? We could probably talk about this one forever. The ball was touched. I think it's very hard for the umpire to make the call on the spot whether this was touched or not. He clearly didn't see it. There's multiple umpires and I doubt I would have been able to see it. You can see with the camera zoomed in, yes, you definitely can. But on the day, in that spot, could the umpire see it? Probably not. It probably wasn't obvious enough. Now, that leads to my next question. Do you think we should bring in that coaches/captains challenge? It may slow down the game a fair bit like it has in the NBL and the NRL, but what do you think? Should this be introduced? Leave a comment below. How odd is the shape of the Norwood Oval? I've never seen such straight lines on a footy oval. Seen it many times in the SANFL, but never really showcased it this well, such as this drone shot, I reckon. After Bonner receives the handball, he looks like he fakes a defender and he's going to go kick the ball, but Maurice Rioli just comes out of nowhere. You can actually see him on the previous play. He's probably about 20 metres away and he just comes from nowhere and just absolutely destroys him. What a wicked tackle. You love to see it. I know it's dying seconds in the game and the umpire's unlikely to make this sort of call, but you can see Quaynor gets control of the ball and he sort of just holds the ball and pretends like he's trying to keep it in play before bringing it back, with very limited defense and defensive pressure from the Hawks. I would be so upset if the umpire actually called insufficient intent to keep the ball in. It's probably the right call. If this happened in the second quarter with 10 minutes left, it probably would have got called, but being the final quarter with being such a close game in the end, it wasn't called. What do you think? Should that been called insufficient intent? Jamara Ugle-Hagan gets the ball, he beats his defender, and he has a easy run-in set shot at goal, but somehow completely shanks it off the inside of his right boot and it goes out of bounds on the full. This one was a little odd for me because you can clearly see the goal umpire believes that it's gone through for a behind. The field umpire signals with the single hand up, meaning it's a point, and then the ball's kicked in, but then for some reason there's a call made to bring the ball back and go to score review. I've never actually seen it where they bring it back after that. You can with a goal because they have to review in between the goal when it gets balled up, but this one was actually called back. Turns out it was a mark. I don't agree with that. I don't think he had full control of the ball before it went over the line. But anyway, he goes through and I believe he kicks a goal. Do you think this was the right call? Somehow Max King has kicked this goal. It's a snap on the right from that pocket. That should have been going towards the top of the goal square, not through for a goal. That is the definition of odd.
The mysteries of the AFL shape football. What a brilliant way to respond. Max King dropped the mark.
Who else but Harry Mackay? He takes the mark, he's beat his defender, he runs into an easy open goal and drops the ball. I don't know what else to say. I think this could only happen to him. Sanders gets the ball and he's absolutely clear from a throw-in. Only problem is he's going the wrong way.
Well done, Sanders. He's going the wrong way. The young fella's going dead set the wrong way. It's happened a bit over the years. Don looks up.
Didn't the umpires say just last week that Jack Ginnivan was getting unfair treatment and they missed some calls? And then this week they just do the exact same thing again, I guess. Only in the second quarter and it didn't cost them the game in the end, but this one could be classified as a coach killer. He gets the ball inside the forward 50, can go back and take the set shot, but decides to play on and then misses. I'm sure he'd want that one back again. Shea Bolton was absolutely elite on the weekend. You can see even when he doesn't get a stat, he's still so important to the Tigers. This one is the rare double oddity as Emmett goes for a set shot at goal. It's an absolute stinker. It does get touched, but you can just tell by the kick it's definitely not making the distance anyway. And then it goes forward and Tabner lays a bump. I don't think this is a tackle and gets called for holding the ball. The very rare double oddity. After a bit of a scramble, Petrarca ends up with the ball and he's immediately tackled. He tries to drop the ball onto his boot. He misses, hangs his head in shame because he knows he's been done, but it wasn't called. If a player hangs his head like that, surely he knows that should have been holding the ball, but for some reason the umpire just didn't call it. Talk about coach killers. Zerk Thatcher kicks it into the forward 50 with just 10 seconds left with the game very close at this point, and there's 3 Bomber defenders there and neither of them try to touch the ball. Probably should have been Draper's ball. He's let it bounce, it gets up, and then in the end Finlayson kicks the goal. That one hurts. How's the pluck here from Petrarca? Just pulls it in with one hand so casually. Dixon also had a very nice one-handed pluck, but in the end destroys it with a terrible shank kick at goal.
Drags the kick a little, Dixon. Big Charlie Dixon for 2 in a minute. He's absolutely kicked the air out of it. It's going to be a throw.
Does Dunkley hate Jerry? He just handballs it straight into his face. It's pretty funny. You always love seeing a Falcon, even if it is an accident, or possibly on purpose. Still funny. Yet another coach killer. have no idea what Hine was doing. He was clearly in two minds, I guess. He was either had the set shot at goal or passed to his teammate, passes to the teammate, but it's way too long out of bounds in the full. You're this far out and you're free. You have to go for the goal. Even a point is better than what happened. Not sure if the umpire got blinded by the sun, but this is an easy mark to McCarthy. Somehow gets spoiled after the ball's been controlled, but still is called play on. But then something like Stengel's mark, which wasn't controlled, is a mark. I don't know. Marlon Pickett tries to sell the candy to Wilkie, but he doesn't fall for it and ends up landing the sweet tackle, and he's called holding the ball. Well done to Wilkie. Gotta love Jake Lever's passion for the game. This little stomp thing just reminds me of a toddler or something. But he pulled it in pretty quick to not give away the 50-metre penalty. We saw Ollie Wines do this last week, and then Jake Lever did it as well. I guess he didn't think the umpire blew the whistle quick enough, so he tried to play on. I think the umpire can have the right to say bring it back, because the umpire was a bit late on the whistle in my opinion. This one was in the injuries, but you can see McGovern lay a bump and then ends up cracking a tooth or losing a tooth, and you can see he just hands it to the runner like it's nothing. That's pretty tough. Membry spent it before he earned it. You can see in the forward line that there are so many options, but he just, I don't know, he was already making his mind up. Was he going to kick the goal? Was he going to pass it? But in the end, he had no option for either because he forgot to pick the ball up. Dersma must be pretty quiet because Joe Danaher had no idea who was right behind him and got the chase down tackle. Not really sure if it's a chase down, but anyway, he got the free kick. But pretty poor defense from his teammates as well to let him know that you're about to be tackled, handball it or kick it. Man, wouldn't you love Rosie to be on your team? Even I would. I'm a Crows fan, and he just slices through the defense. No one comes at him because he fakes the handball, check side, kick, and goes through for a goal. He's an absolute gun. Solid mark by Harris Andrews here. Always love a good defensive play. Fantasia ends up with a really nice steal, and he runs towards the goal, kicks it in. All he needs is the bounce, but it's got backspin, and it doesn't even make the distance. If he kicked it slightly different from more the back of the ball, this would have rolled through for a goal. Here's another double oddity, possibly. Jake Stringer, I don't think he controls the ball the whole time. It looks like he does juggle it over the boundary. Boundary umpires again don't make the call. But then he fakes the player, which is a play on, but he's out of bounds. So you're out of bounds. Throw it in. Just a quick little falcon for Archie Perkins here.
Third game of gather round. Third game.
How's the fake from Battle? He gets him once, twice, 3 times. Come on, guys. Gotta love the triple fake, though. I think this might be the most odd out of bounds on the full I have ever seen. Hewitt kicks the ball down the line, but it actually ends up coming off the Fremantle's foot as he kicks it into his foot and then out. And obviously that means it's out of bounds on the full by Freo, so it's a Carlton free kick. Very odd. Josh Weddle copped a massive falcon to the face from Lockie Schultz. After watching this one a couple times, I have no idea what Petruccelli was trying to do here. He passes it to Waterman, I guess, who is running in towards goal, but Petruccelli doesn't know who's behind him, and you can kind of see the disgust on Waterman's face. And of course, West Coast turn it over, and just, it's pretty much the embodiment of West Coast Eagles at the moment. Atkins gets called for a high hit here, but I'm not entirely sure what he's meant to do. West is out of control, he's stumbling forward, and Atkins just happens to be there and bump his head onto Atkins' hip, but that's a free kick against Atkins. What does the umpire want to see Atkins do in this exact point in time? I don't like the call. Both Parfitt and English jump on the ball, but I think English has a bit more control of the ball. but the ball just fumbles. Usually the umpire calls his whistle, but he doesn't, and all the players sort of just stand still waiting for the whistle, but it just never comes. This is pretty odd for our final clip. Nick Lucky takes the mark, and then Harris Andrews knocks the ball out, and it probably, from first glance, I actually thought this was going to be a 50-metre penalty. The umpire's called a mark, but then he gets to take his mark back, so which is very strange because if the defender knocks it out, it should be a 50-metre penalty. But watching the replay, it actually looks like Nick Lucky plays on and the ball's knocked out, so it should have been play on. But the umpire's chosen the decision to neither pay the play on or the mark and the 50-metre penalty. In the end, I don't know. What do you think? That one's just weird to me. And that's it for this week. The code word, if you want to leave a comment below, is gather. And a massive thank you to my elite supporters, Big Mac John, Kanga, Roo, Sean Ducks, and Flex. If you guys would like to make the support list at the end, be sure to join as a member. Thank you all very much, and I'll see you next week. Thank you again for the 10,000 subscribers. This is the moment you've been waiting for, opening round oddities. I'm trying to get the channel to 15,000 subscribers by the end of the season, so if you do like these videos at the end, please do subscribe, and if you've seen them before, leave a like. Let's get into it. In this first clip, you can see Logan McDonald kick for goal, and he's kind of shanked it. You can sort of forgive that one. McLean takes a mark almost in the goal square. He goes back and somehow absolutely blows this one. First game of the year. We'll give him a break. It's still going to make the Shanks compilation at the end of the year though. Hopper, just full head of steam, has tackled Flanders, and it looks like he's very close to knocking himself out. He's got to be careful that he doesn't injure himself with these sort of tackles. Only Toby Green would give away a free kick like this. After a ball up, he just starts to walk away with the ball from the umpire. The umpire calls a delay of game, and it's a free kick to Collingwood.
I like the activation of the sub. So Mitchell, you know he's going to be in there, head in the trough, feeding it out. That's not what the Pies need if they are going to go to win this. It's going to be the run, the dare, the dash, breaking a line, taking it off the line.
Just shows you how wet the ball was on Thursday night, as even Christian Petrarca fumbled the ball 3 times in a row. That is very much unlike him. Do you like this call from the umpire here, as Nathan Broad takes the ball back with very limited pressure? Do you think this is enough for a free kick? I don't mind it as long as they pay it throughout the whole year. Bowie and McInerney have both gone for the ball here. This is a fine, it's just incidental contact between the two players. Unfortunately, the smaller person, Bowie, has come off second best, and it looks like he's going to spend some weeks on the sidelines as he has injured his AC joint. Bad luck. BT is totally confused by who the player is here. First he calls him Nick Dacos, then Crisp, and then he finally realises it's Jamie Elliott. Nick Dacos doesn't have tattoos as far as I'm aware, and Jamie Elliott is absolutely covered in them. And another blunder by BT here. Fox has come in, he's kicked for goal, and it's clearly hit the post. The umpire is not sure, and then BT's going on about how it's a goal. Fox thinks it's a goal, but you can just look at Fox's body language. He definitely knows this is not a goal, and somehow the goal umpire is right there. You can clearly see it deflects off the post. For some reason this goes for a score review. I guess they panicked because it was Sydney Swans. Anyway, this was just pretty poor commentating from BT in my opinion. He clearly was saying it's a goal, and then as soon as it goes through for a behind, he goes, how did the umpire not see that? He didn't even see it. I found this one a little funny. Lyon's chair breaks and the mechanism won't allow it to go up anymore, and he just slowly sinks down into his chair. I wish there were more angles of this, because you can clearly see Charlie Cameron's just missed the boot on this one almost, and he's very lucky that this has even gone in for a score. It just definitely was not his night.
Cannot believe it.
As I said, wasn't his night. This was earlier in the night where, I mean, he probably was going for distance, so he had to kick it fairly hard. But again, this came off the side of the boot, and it could have really hurt Carlton, but it goes out of bounds on the full. This was great by De Koning. He was pushed out of the ruck, but he just lunged and he put his hand out there, just try and stop the kick, and very well done defensively by him. The first gamer in Windsor was run down, holding the ball, and Fox has a chance to kick a goal here. And he too comes off the side of the boot and misses everything.
That's what's ahead of Robbie Fox. Never ever left the boot properly out the full. Inside 50.
Bailey Fritsch probably does the right thing here. He notices that both the defenders are not watching, so he plays on and kicks for goal. But you just have to finish these. If you're going to play on, you have to kick the goal. The Pickets are well known for wicked tackles, and you can see this one here is very fierce. He's very lucky he didn't injure the player, but this is the sort of tackle you do love to see as a fan. It's just a really strong, dominant tackle. After Grimes flops, you can see after he kicks the ball, Berry runs up to him just to let him know, like, come on mate, that's soft, and Grimes just throws him straight to the ground right in front of the umpire. What are you doing? When Jack Viney is playing like this, it is very, very hard to stop him. You can see that he just goes through the pack. There's at least 2 defenders tackling him, and he's still able to get the kick off and kick a goal. In the dying minutes of the game, I'm not sure why the umpire hasn't seen this. There's an umpire on the left of screen who's clearly missed Curnow throwing Gardner straight to the ground. This definitely should have been a free kick. How's the balls are still on Mackay here with only a minute and a half left. We definitely know his kicking woes. He's gone back and he's kicked the goal to win the game for Carlton. This was an awesome game to watch. It was really good. He probably should have been in my Brownlow votes. I think there was just a few other people above him, but anyway, what a kick. And then it was a follow-up play with only 15 seconds left. You can see that Mackay could have taken possession. He probably would have been pushed or tackled over the line, but he did enough to not get paid for insufficient intent to keep the ball in. He's fumbled it perfectly over the line, so the umpire has no choice but to throw it in. When you've taken a mark and you're going to kick the ball, surely your teammates have to give way to you. Langdon's just run straight in front and kicked the ball straight into Langdon. Why was Langdon not running behind him so that didn't happen? He just got in his way and caused a turnover. Very strange. The first gamer in Seth Campbell lays a tackle. The ball actually looks like it comes off of his leg and he puts his arm out, like out of bounds on the full. But the ball's come off you, mate. Anyway, no free kick was paid, but I just found that one a little bit funny. With less than 3 minutes left in the Swans and Melbourne game, there were 3 people that stormed the pitch, as they say, and unfortunately now they don't broadcast it, so we can't see them, but you can just hear the cheers of the SCG crowd. Were loving it. I think this was a missed call by the umpire here. You can see that Bolter has tried to fend off Casbolt. He's tackled him, taken him to ground. That is his prior opportunity in my opinion. That should have been holding the ball for me. I know we can't go back in time and change what happened, but you can see that Wilmot gets the ball and he runs outside of the defensive 50. He kicks the ball off, and just after he's done that, he's been taken out by another player, and the umpire says play on. Even though the Brisbane have the ball, it should have been a 50-metre penalty in my opinion, because he has taken the player out of the play who could have continued on and had a chance at getting the ball. So that is traditionally a 50-metre penalty, which would have put the Lions inside the forward 50 with a set shot at goal. Grasping at straws there, but those are the rules. Sometimes when you kick the footy, you get the worst bounce in the world, but how's this bounce for Papley? It's hit the top end of the ball and it's actually propelled it forward, so he's kicked a goal, which ended up running about 80 metres. Now that is some luck. I thought this was pretty clever by Noah Anderson. You can see that all the Tigers defenders are looking like they're waiting for the umpire to call holding the ball, which it definitely would have been, but the ball's come out, so Noah Anderson's just taken it and continued to play on while the Tigers defenders were caught sleeping. After McCarthy takes a pretty nice mark here, it goes down towards their forward line and kick it into Joe Danaher, who also takes a really nice mark. This is probably very rare, because you don't see 2 speckies in the same play. And to finish it off, how's this goal by Van Rooyen? He definitely did not mean to do this, but this was soccer-esque, where it's come off. It looks like a bicycle kick, but it's accidental and it counts. It's a goal. Probably luckiest goal I have ever seen. Anyway, that's it for the opening round oddities. I'm going to try and make these videos usually a little bit longer. There was only 4 games and this video is 9+ minutes. So hopefully that means next week we'll get 15+ minutes. If you are looking forward to that, please leave a like, and if you're new, subscribe. And the secret code to write down in the comments this week is Cloudy. Thanks for watching again. Hello and welcome to Oddities in the Round 1 AFL 2024 season. Thanks for stopping by and watching. In this first clip we can see Jared Witts is going to be on this highlight reel forever for copping probably the biggest falcon I've ever seen. We've probably all seen a few of these clips by now, but in the Collingwood and Sydney game you can actually see that the ball, once kicked by Gordon, hits the camera, which is on those wires up the top. And I'm assuming the umpires didn't see this because it probably should have been a ball up after that. What do you think should have happened? Now before we go to the next one, please do leave a like, and if you're new, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to battle Egg Footy. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before he does. We're on track to win that game, so please, if you are new, do subscribe and let's beat Egg Footy before he reaches 10k. How's this bloke at the end of the Carlton game when you can hear him yell out, "Go Baggers!" and then he just proceeds to pour the drink straight on his face. Not entirely sure how much he got in his mouth, but didn't look like much. I found this one to be a little bit strange. Do you think Markov went off his mark enough for the umpire to call play on? Rowbottom looks like he's gone over the mark well before the umpires called play on, and this should have been a 50-metre penalty in my opinion. What do you think? Should have this been play on or a 50-metre penalty? I think we have a goal of the year contender already as Jeremy Cameron fends off a defender, kicks the ball down towards his forward 50, receives the ball back and then kicks a very difficult kick on a left boot and it goes through for a goal. Some team play and also individual brilliance. I know both Paddy Cripps and Tom De Koning are athletes, but this is only 5 minutes of game time and somehow Paddy Cripps has already run 22 kilometres and Tom De Koning has run 9.1. That is some elite pace, guys. If this was last week, Maynard would have been pinged for insufficient intent with keeping the ball in, which would have been a free kick to the Sydney Swans, but for some reason he does something very similar to last week, but this one is okay to be behind. Do you know what the difference was from last week to this week? I'm very confused. Papley's done the right thing and he's tried to pass the ball over the top to his teammate in Lloyd and he just leaves the ball behind. You can see he tries to go back for it, fumbles again and then gets tackled. This was just a complete comedy of errors. Liam Baker gave away a 50-metre penalty, which as we know was a very, very generous 50-metre penalty. And De Koning goes through and kicks the goal in a crucial point of the game, and it did look like it was an accident, but watching the replay from the other angle in slow-mo, you can actually see that it does look like he knocks the ball out of his hands on purpose, in my opinion. The Freo Dockers reckon this has been touched off the boot. After watching the replay, it definitely was, but the umpire didn't call touch, so this is paid a mark. But I guess just like in basketball terms, ball don't lie. I have absolutely no idea what the camera operator was doing here. After De Goey kicks the ball, I don't know if the camera operator doesn't know what to do. He sort of sticks on him, he looks at Amadi, he's completely lost the ball. Director, quick, change the camera angle, man. I thought this one was a little bit harsh by the umpire. You can see Tom Green marks the ball, and if you follow the lines of where the grass goes, it does look like he marks it maybe a metre or so behind that line colour change, and Curtis goes over by probably not even a metre, and the umpire calls a 50-metre penalty. I thought that was fairly harsh for something that was quite minor. How's the balls on Dangerfield here? Game on the line. Up by 1 point, you kick the goal, you can almost guarantee your team the win. Goes back and he slots it. He's not usually accurate in front of goals, but he did it when it counted. Ford also tries to do the right thing and chip the ball forward to his teammate, but he just misses the kick, and GWS are able to clean the mess up. This definitely should have been a goal to North Melbourne. How good was this tackle here? He's held on to his arm just long enough. Usually you can slip out of these sort of tackles, but he's held on for dear life, and he gets rewarded with a holding the ball call in his favour. Not entirely sure how the umpire has just missed this blatant throw. The umpire is right there and he's just blindsided by it somehow. This definitely should have been a free. How's this smother from Brayshaw? He's just smothered the ball. He's jumped right at the right time or the wrong time, depending on how you want to look at it, and he's just got the ball straight to the face. Look at the desire and the want from Fremantle here. You can see that Switkowski comes from the centre square to come through and smother this kick from Joe Danaher. The Freo Dockers just wanted it more on the day, and that's a little bit of the reason why they won. Probably should have been called holding the ball here against Rowan Marshall. As he goes to kick the ball, he drops the ball towards his boot. It doesn't make any sort of contact. That's a clear holding the ball that's gone missed in the first 4 minutes of all things. Ash Johnson has a chance to bring the Pies back a little bit closer to Sydney. As he's, I guess, lining up for a goal from 50 metres, he just completely shanks it. This is probably one of the worst ones I've seen in quite a while.
For a terrific start for the Pies, that is horrible.
Mansell has a chance to push the Tigers' lead out, and this is a very regular shot for most forwards, especially small forwards, and somehow he's managed to hit the post when he is 5 metres out. It became a very costly mistake at the end of the game. We've all probably seen this one by now, but after Sicily gives away a free kick, you can see that he goes back up to him and pushes Sicily slightly, and he falls down on the ground. I don't like this in the game, it's a flop. You get warnings for this in basketball. This should be a fine or a 50-metre penalty if the umpire thinks a flop is bad enough. And then to follow it up, after the goal gets kicked on him, he goes in and decks Andy McGrath, and in the end was suspended but overturned to a fine. Give me your comments below. I'm sure McDonald would love to have this kick back again, as he's trying to chip the ball over the top to a teammate. He just kicks it straight to Callum Archie.
To Brisbane. McDonald's coughed it up to Archie. And then into the hot spot they go. Pearce crunches.
After Harry McKay gives away a 50-metre penalty for not listening when the umpire told him to stand, Noah Bolter takes the ball inside the centre square and he proceeds to kick it to a teammate, but I don't know if he's missed the ball completely or what. I don't know what this was. He played a really good game, but this one was definitely a kick to forget. Brodie Smith from the Adelaide Crows has the kick-in duties, and I guess he doesn't see the colour between red and green. I don't know. He's just tried to hit his teammate, but he's just kicked it directly out in front to the bloke that's 15 metres from him. And in the end, Gold Coast kick a goal. Does anyone watch the Saints a bit more often than I do? Does Mitch Owens always have this sort of kick? It looks really ugly, and you can see that he's shanked the kick to the left, but just the kicking form looked really strange to me. Wouldn't you just love to be able to kick this far? Jaden Short makes it look so easy and so nonchalant. He just launches this from outside 50, probably 60 metres, and it clears it by 5 metres as well. This is a monster kick for something that looks so effortless from him. We've reached the secret part of the video. If you want to leave the code word BULL, as in BULL, I will give you a thumbs up and a heart in the comments below. Let's see how many comments we can get in there before people start to pick up on it. I think the GWS players heard the call touch, but I reckon it actually came from a teammate. As you can see, Lachie Whitfield tackles the marker, and it eventually is a 50-metre penalty. I understand this is very hard to do in the wet, but I just found this quite funny. As the Crows have it in their forward 50 inside the goal square, you can see Jake Saligo come from absolutely nowhere to come through for a wicked soccer goal to kick it straight through, but he just completely misses it, and I just found that a little bit funny. I'm sure you'd love to have this handball back. I'm not sure why you would do this if you can't hit it. Just kick it inside the forward 50. This handball to the grass, which, I don't know, it's just a poor handball overall. They showed this stat in the game, in the Collingwood and Sydney game, and I just thought that was quite interesting that Scott Pendlebury has played more games at the MCG than when they were South Melbourne and Sydney. Obviously being a home ground advantage to the Pies, but this is a pretty interesting stat. Didn't we see last year that someone, I reckon it was Jai Simpkin, threw away his opponent's shoe? And that was a 50-metre penalty. So why was this not a free, or at least, I don't know, please explain from Brian Myers. He's clearly done it to get his team an advantage. It probably should have been something. Vlauston has absolutely come from nowhere to stop Charlie Curnow from kicking the goal. In the end, it didn't matter, but this could have been a very easy goal for Charlie Curnow. Not sure why he played on, but well done to Nick Vlauston for the defensive play of the week. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, surely the channel deserves a subscribe. And if you already are, leave a like. It helps out the algorithm. Leave a comment below. It'll push it out to more people. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.